Okay, street talk section of the podcast, and like I said, it's a bit of touch and go this week, wasn't it? Bit of swings and roundabouts, a little bit of some of it was good, some of it was really, really boring.
Oh, I thought you said the summer bit was good. I was like,
the some of it wasn't good. The some of
what
it
are you
was not good.
talking about?
But at least we didn't have any of that today. No, my kind of reflecting back on the week. Well, it's not really reflecting back. I felt it as I was watching it, and some of it was a bit of a slog. It was like Mondays, boring. Wednesdays, quite good actually. Today's episode, yeah, not so good. Is that kind of where you were with it as well?
I think so.
At least Wednesdays was okay, and interestingly, what made it quite okay on Wednesday partly was the Stu storyline, which is what we've been having, a little bit of problem with how it's been dragging maybe over the past few months.
Well, it took a turn on Wednesday, and it was very exciting and interesting. And then today, it was like, the more I think about this, the less sense it makes.
There is still a good theory going around there, which we'll get to in a little bit as well.
Right, I want to get on with it then.
Okay, so we'll start off with the Stupid Frame storyline, and then we're going to have the Maria stuff. And I was like, I don't know what to call this storyline. When Maria was stalked, we had it called There's Someone About Maria, which I quite liked, and I haven't got anything better coming along.
I don't get it.
It's like there's something about Maria. There's someone about Maria. There's somebody about her. Stalking her.
Oh, about her.
Yeah, exactly. I did have some other storyline titles, but I've rejected them.
Terrible.
Maybe we'll come to them later. Speaking of terrible storyline, Assault and Daddery. Yeah? No? I know that's terrible. That's a really bad one. That's about Aaron's dad beating him up. I realised just like literally 5 minutes ago when we sat down, I could probably come up with something better that involved pop, like taking a pop at somebody. I don't know. This is how I'm feeling about this one.
When he goes, you can call it pop off.
Yeah, okay. Quite like this one. Tim and Aggie, platonic or shaggy? which was their relationship. So far, it's platonic. Who knows, it may get shaggy the further we get on through the year. Then we had a little bit more of the Ken makes a play for Wendy, which was another highlight of Wednesday's episode, I have to say, with Tracy's introduction into the mix. We had some Harvey stuff today. I didn't have time to think of storyline title for Harvey, but yeah, he's not back yet, but it feels like he could just be around the corner, a bit of a return for Mr. Gaskell. And speaking of return, we also saw a little bit more of fun into this week's episodes.
Fern Cotton?
No.
Fern Britain?
No. Fern Gully? No. And Double Trouble is Bernie about to be double crossed? We'll have to see, because it looks like Fern is up to no good this week. Gemma, I'm going to let you do the Stew storyline if you want to today, because you did quite enjoy that Wednesday stuff.
I like it when there's been a murder.
I know there has been. That's a bit like, what's going on with Stephen at the moment? Literally, that story that was so exciting for us.
I think he's doing a good job of laying low.
He's really doing an excellent job of keeping quiet about it. No suspicion. He's just like staying right off the radar, isn't he? This my notes for this Stew storyline has also got like random DD stuff in there as well, such as this first scene.
Well, DD's involved.
She is involved because basically at the beginning of Monday's episode,
she's like, I'm staying in Weatherfield, and I want to have
James's.
It was bizarre to me that Glory is still sharing Michael's room. Why don't these adult children get the hint and bugger off? I
don't think that Glory can bugger off. Oh, are you talking...
adult children.
I thought you were saying Glory's an adult. I've heard of soap opera... What is it? Soap opera aging syndrome. Rapid aging syndrome, that's it. But I don't... How old is she? I don't remember.
I don't know how old she is, but her dad should just get himself organised and move the hell out of the baby's house.
What is it that's keeping all these Bailey kids here? It's certainly not Aggie's cooking.
Aggie's guilt tripping. Every time one of them goes, she has a maudlin stare out the window.
She does, doesn't
starts shagging around.
Anyway, sorry, Glory.
You can't have your own room. And I imagine being Michael and having to share. It's just bizarre. And Dee Dee's like, well, I'm having James's room.
They're not really leaning that much into the Michael feeling like the extra child, the overlooked child. I mean, he has been the centre of attention for. I suppose he hasn't, not with James being a footballer.
He hasn't really done all that much for a long time.
But he's occasionally giving glances as if to say, "Oh, somebody pay attention to me, please." But then they don't go anywhere with it. So anyway, Dee Dee's staying. We knew that already. And now,
well, she hasn't said anything yet.
Well, she doesn't yet. Later on, they find out.
In Speed Dial, Stu's getting maudlin again.
Theme of the week.
Because he can't get in touch with Bridget, and she seems to have been giving him the cold shoulder. Then we see Tim and Aggie. Is this is there a separate affair storyline?
There is the Shaggy storyline. No, yes.
No, I don't want to skip that because that's.
Well, it's just Aggie saying that Ed's upset Dee Dee. That's it,
Ed's
really.
upset Dee
But you're
Dee.
right. Okay, fine. Maybe that is another story.
Get over it. Get over it. You're a grown woman.
Stop going around stories, Dee Dee.
Later on, Yasmin tells Alia that she's got a plan for getting through to Bridget.
What could it be?
And then this is when later on Dee Dee tells Aggie that she's going to stay in Weatherfield because she doesn't like living in LA. And they're like, hooray, hurrah! And then she moans about the weather. It's like, I would hate to live in LA. Sounds like a horrible soulless place with no rain. Sorry if you live in LA, but it's crazy to me that there's a place where it's like exciting when it rains like twice a year.
Yeah.
I couldn't live like that. I love the rain so much.
I hear that some like it hot. And they live in LA.
Well, they're all irrelevant, aren't they? Can stay there. I don't know where I am now. I'm feeling Morgan.
You're doing your best Stu impression here, aren't you? Here we go. No. Here is where we are.
Meets up with
Sorry,
Bridget
everyone. Not a classic podcast, this one.
This won't be a good one today.
Gemma's got a bit of a tummy ache as well.
I've got a really bad stomach ache. Yasmin meets up with Bridget in the Rovers, and she says, I need to think about Eliza and all this. And Yasmin says, yes. But Eliza and Stu get on really well, and you should let them be grandparent and child and do the Werther's original advert shenanigans, like eating sweets and stuff. Yasmin says, look, whatever Stu has or hasn't done, we shouldn't deny them that. Which I'm going to say, wrong.
Should you?
Well, if it was, something like, oh, did he shag about when he was a kid? Or, oh, did he sell state secrets to Russia? Or was he involved in a poppy farm? He murdered somebody. Yes. Or did he?
We'll find out.
You should... I think that's got quite a lot of relevance, really.
Yeah, but he's paid his time, hasn't he? So, I know he hasn't done anything, but Yasmin and others might think, he has repented.
I know, but you're sort of gambling it was a one-off, aren't you? And let's be honest, he was in prison for 27 years. He didn't have access to any kids to murder then. So you can't say...
Charlie wasn't a kid.
She was young.
Yeah.
You can't say he definitely is rehabilitated because it's like they tempted him.
Give him a chance to kill someone.
I think that in prison they should whatever crime you did, they should every so often set it up so you could do it again to see if you'll do it.
I think that I can completely trust Stu because if I had a murderous streak in me and I was hanging around Alia and Zidane that much, one of them would be for the job.
So we know
he's had a year to do it. Yeah, they've tested his patience.
Back at number 6, I don't know, he's pretty mad at the end of the week. Back at number 6, Yasmin tells Stu and everybody else that she's managed to get Bridget and Eliza to come round for a meal tomorrow, but it'll probably be Wednesday. And Lucy doesn't know about it, and Stu is thrilled. And then Dee Dee quits her job over the phone later, and Aggie goes off to tell Tim, but that's a different story.
That is a different story.
Just bear that in your mind. Keep it there for later.
Aggie told him something.
A little nut in your cheek if you're a hamster. On Wednesday, Eliza is not going to school.
It's in the cheek of my head.
Because you're not very
my cheek isn't my head. the cheek of my cranium.
The cheek of your brain.
Wednesday. This is where it starts to get a bit more.
See, this is where the criminal streak starts to come in. Yeah, his bad influence on this child. 1 minute she's fine, next minute she's playing hooky because her granddad's a murderer.
This Coronation Street is just like. If we don't need children to go to school, we'll find a way of getting them off. Like, Max needs to be in a story. What reason can we have for him to be at home this week? Oh, he just doesn't want to go in. Sam doesn't. We need him in some street scenes. Let's just say that Nick and Leanne have arranged for him to stay off school. Literally, all unauthorised absence. Fine them for sure.
That quite a lot of these things could have just been. Oh, it's the evening.
Yeah, I know.
How was your day, Eliza?
Yeah, they don't want to get out the old nighttime filter, do they?
Okay. So, she's pretending to be sick, but she's still well enough to come round for brunch. How come, also, he's organised brunch when he knew the kid was going to be at school.
I can't remember. I think I thought that at the time. I don't know whether they probably explained it.
So Bridget comes round. Eliza's happy. They sit down for brunch. Everyone's thrilled. Eliza talks about her school. She goes to an all-girls Catholic school, which is like, that seems really
like
specific,
Act,
doesn't it? And odd.
Yeah, why not?
I thought all-girls schools are very rare.
Well, maybe they are.
I think they should bring them back. Get rid of all the boys. No boys in education.
Gemma went to an all-girls school.
All-girls school, yeah. It was Halloween themed.
All-girls school. No, I said all-girls school.
It's only French people.
Girls.
A bunch of medieval French people. I still can't speak it. Anyway, so, yeah. She goes to an all-girls school. Stu says, I play the guitar. And she's like, where did you learn it? And he went, oh, when I was in the big house. No, he says, when I was inside. And everyone gets a bit awkward. And then Eliza's playing probably Twinkle Twinkle.
Yeah, she's playing the guitar as well, isn't she?
Oh, she didn't learn in
musical.
She learned inside as well. Yasmin goes to get a drink, and then Eliza asks Stu if he and Yasmin are together, and he says, we're just friends. And then she says to him, was prison hard? And he said, I didn't really like it. No, it wasn't my best time. But the hardest part was missing out on everything that's happening outside. And Bridget's there, looking all sad, and she goes into the orangery and gets upset. And then Stu follows her out there, and he's really nice to her and makes her feel even worse. She starts crying, and they hug each other. Meanwhile, Yasmin and Eliza are talking, and she's trying to distract her because Eliza's getting worried about her mum.
Can I just say as well, this was like the happiest Yasmin's been in.
Yasmin was great this
I
week.
don't actually know when I've seen Yasmin be so happy than Wednesday's episode. She was just like totally chilled and relaxed and normal and
I really liked
Jeff
it
free.
On Friday when Eliza was there and she was like, come upstairs and we'll get you all cozy in your room. I was like, yes, this is Yasmin that we love.
Not like, oh no, you're like Jeff.
Angst.
Yeah, you accused me of things that wasn't me, which we did get some of this week.
A little bit, but it's just she managed to
turn it around,
together,
didn't
I
she?
say.
Yeah, so yes, please, more cheerful Yasmin. I enjoyed that.
So Stu's still bagging on about being in prison and how hard it was and how alone and scared he was, and he was really angry about it because he didn't do nothing wrong. And Bridget's like, oh, Dad, I'm so sorry. And then, like, she completely blew my mind because she said, I did it. It was me, Dad. I killed Charlie. And I was like, what? This isn't right. This can't be true.
By the time this confession came out on Wednesday, I'd completely lost track of who I thought had actually done it, because we'd kind of decided, well, you know, it was either Lucy or Bridget or Lennox, wasn't it? And I think I'd thought through all theories in my head and decided at various points that it was definitely one of them. I didn't know who I thought it was going to be, but I still could say, yeah, I knew it was Bridget, because at some point I thought it was her. But yeah, what I didn't know, I had no idea that this confession was coming today.
I thought it was Lucy, maybe.
Yeah.
The mum.
This completely caught me off guard. I think it's partly because of the plodding nature of this story and how it seems to have dragged out for a bit longer than it needed to. So for them actually to turn a big corner like this and have this bombshell, nice.
I think the problem with Coronation Street and murder mystery storylines, especially ones that aren't really about main characters, which they rarely do because they don't work, and this is proof, in my opinion, is that it's not focused enough for the red herrings to really feel like proper red herrings. They just feel like somebody got confused when they were writing it down.
Mm. Yeah.
Because why was Lennox even in it? I don't even know now. You've got your theory.
Let's get to the end. I think
I really hope they can pull it back together at the end of this, because there's twists, and then there's just what are you talking about, and this was a what are you talking about, because I'm not sure whether I think that Bridget did anything.
Well, what was her story?
Well, she said she came to see Stu after her shift.
After his shift, she's a teenager at this point, isn't she? She's been to school.
She's
got a lovely clay arts project.
She's put in the work. She's put in the hours.
Yeah.
Working 9 to 5. She brings in her art project to show him, and she sees Stu and Charlie together in the car, and she was going to confront them, but then Charlie gets out and Stu drives away, and then Charlie goes to the bus stop, gets a book out, sits down and starts reading it, and Bridget's watching her. And were they a similar age, or was Charlie like a few years older than her?
Oh yeah, must have been older, because
was Charlie and Stu the same age?
I don't know. I can't remember. I don't think it particularly matters, but
it does a bit. I thought
Bridget
Charlie
was definitely
young.
younger. I think I get the impression that Charlie was young, yeah, but just Bridget was obviously a lot younger if she was, a schoolgirl at the time.
So anyway, she's like, I hate this girl. I can relate to this. Watching someone going, I hate you. She goes over, she knocks the book out of Charlie's hand, and Charlie's like, oi, leave me alone. I don't want any trouble.
I'd quite like to have seen this flashback. I know Corrie doesn't do this at all, but it was a really, quite a vividly described scene.
Well, there you go. She did a good job.
She did do a good job. I thought the actress playing Bridget was fab this week. I've got her name, and I've written it down somewhere. She is played by Beth Weiss. I think that she did a bang-up job this week, actually. So, yeah, good.
Don't say bang-up job around Stu. That's really rude.
Yeah.
So she's just slapped the book out of this girl's hand, and then she says, leave my family alone, and you'll regret it if you don't. And Charlie says, bugger off, little girl, run home to mummy. And then Bridget ruins her clay model by hitting Charlie.
She does a Tracy, doesn't she?
And she dies.
Yeah, whacks with the stick.
It was kind of like a combination of Tracy and Deirdre, because she made a clay object, but then she killed somebody with it. Deirdre used to make things out of clay.
Did, didn't she? Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't. Knowing the era that this was probably in and how old Bridget is, she seems a similar age to us. It probably was an ashtray. It's the sort of thing you would have made in school.
Actually, no, she did say what it was. I didn't write it down.
It was a llama. It was a decorative llama.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Right.
So and then she just dies. And Bridget's like, oh no. She calls her mum, which is suspicious because she wouldn't have had a mobile phone.
Phone box. They're all over the place.
She ran to a phone box. She's like, God damn it, why is this defibrillator in here? Stu's like listening to all this, going, well, this is a bit of a bolt out of the blue, isn't it? He's stunned because it turns out Lucy's known as well. So Lucy and Bridget have both colluded together to keep him banged up all this time to cover up the murder that his daughter did. So Lucy and Bridget, this bit's even worse. They drag her body into the woods and then bury her.
Walk past Gary going, all right, bury the body.
He's like, I won't ask any questions. They want everyone to think it was a random attack, and they didn't ever intend for Stu to be in trouble for this. And then she says, I wanted to confess when I found out that you weren't getting in trouble, but my mum said to keep quiet. And she's like, what? Why are you telling me now? And she says, because you were right, I am a coward. I left you to rot in there all on your own. And then she says, I didn't mean to kill Charlie. I feel really bad and I want to be punished for it. A bit like Toya.
Yeah.
She heads inside and Yasmin and Eliza can see she's been crying. And Bridget says, right, we've got to go. She bundles Eliza off. And Yasmin goes into the garden and Stu's there, like, walking out the back gate. And I don't know where he went.
He just went out for a...
walk.
For a stew.
She comes back and tells Yasmin that Bridget confessed and that she killed Charlie, and that Lucy helped her cover it up. And he spent all these years thinking he got fitted up by the police and they made up lies about him, and now he knows all along it's his flesh and blood. So here's my other question. Lennox, he's still guilty of like forcing a confession.
Yeah.
But the thing is though, I don't want to give him a pass too much on this, but I will say that I don't think that interrogation techniques were very well understood, and I still think even now people don't really understand how easy it is to get somebody to confess to something they didn't do by the way you treat them. It's very difficult to actually get people to tell you the truth in an interview. So, I mean, Lennox was obviously a dick, but he didn't fit him up if he didn't know.
Okay. This is what I think. I wonder whether when Bridget whacked Charlie round the head, she wasn't actually dead. I think that Lucy comes along as like, she's dead. I'm gonna finish her off. No, she's not dead, but I'm gonna finish her off because that'd be really handy, because she was having it off with my husband Stu. So I think that Lucy actually did kill her still, and has left Bridget to believe that it was her. I also think that Lucy and Lennox were having an affair anyway, and I know that doesn't necessarily tally up with why Lucy would be mad at Charlie, but it doesn't matter. So, because we know that Lennox left the force because he was having an affair with someone, and I'm still gripping on to that. So I think that Lucy and Lennox still colluded to pin it on Stu. So I think that Lennox probably did still know.
Was Bridget.
Yeah, that it was Bridget
/ Lucy.
So I think that maybe Lennox thinks it was Bridget, but actually it still could have been Lucy, because at the end of the day, Bridget's kind of nice and Lucy is the hard-faced cow in all of this. So I think it's probably going to end with Lucy somehow admitting, yeah, it was me, or something. I don't know why she would do that after this stage. But yeah, I think that she's going to be the one that is shipped off to prison. Bridget is left out with Eliza to form this nice relationship with Stu, and Lennox, well, there's nothing much you can do with him now, is there, because of the state he's in at the moment. But I still think that he colluded with Lucy.
So say that last chunk again. You think that
Lennox?
What do you think is going to happen? Lennox, nothing can be done about him.
Nothing can be done about him. But Lucy's going to, because it was actually her. And Bridget gets to say, "Oh, I thought all these years I thought that I killed him, but actually I didn't. I thought I killed her, but actually I didn't. I just kind of nearly killed her. But it's not the same thing.
Not the same thing.
So I'm innocent now."
See, this is where my puritanical side comes in, and it's probably a fault of my upbringing, because my parents are pretty harsh, but fair, I think. And my dad was always the sort to you don't get praised for things you're supposed to do, etc., etc. But I can't help but think that Lucy still slapped this girl near to death with a clay ashtray, and then helped her mum bury her in the woods, and then said nothing about it. I still think that maybe she felt bad about it for 27 years, but still also think that that's a crime and she should be in trouble.
As we've just seen from the Toya storyline, the justice system works differently in Weatherfield.
It's as long as you feel really bad about it, don't worry.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I think.
That's kind of what I think as well. I don't have an opinion on Lennox. It doesn't feel like
it's over yet. I think it feels like a nice conclusion to this story. There's going to be a nice bit of closure if Lucy realises that she didn't do it.
Lucy realises
Bridget realises that she didn't do it.
I know, but she doesn't get off the hook for me. She doesn't get off the hook because she still did.
I know, and she's
dad.
I suppose she has been keeping it a secret all this time.
Maybe if Lucy was sort of a bit more overbearing and abusive in some way.
But I mean, I do get the impression that she has been. Bridget said that she wanted to confess, didn't she? But Lucy wouldn't let her.
Yeah, because she's implicated in the crime as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lucy's now in it just as much because she helped her daughter bury a body in the woods.
But Lucy, Bridget, I just can't get my head around it. Okay. Bridget was a minor when this happened, so any kind of coercion that came from Lucy to you need to keep quiet about this or whatever, I think that you might argue that Bridget was young, she didn't know what she was doing, and
that's. Okay. I don't agree with that at all either.
No, but one might argue that.
You can argue it, and I'm sure people who are listening have different opinions on this because it's a very controversial topic, isn't it? About children and can they understand and should they be tried as adults, and I still think
it's like Kelly, isn't it?
She's a 15-year-old
She was only
girl.
17, 16.
Lucy was 15, I think.
Mm.
Bridget was 15 when she did this. She still whacked a girl. She thought she killed. I'm sorry. She knew it was wrong.
Okay.
I really don't. I mean, I'm sorry. I just find it bizarre that.
Well, we'll find out. Let's get back on with the synopsis.
You should be punished in some manner. Like, I understand that putting somebody in prison when they're 15, going, oh, you're in 30 years in prison now, it feels a bit unfair. But you've got to have some kind of somebody's got to come and see and
the mental torture of the last 30 years.
The thing is, also, Bridget's been walking around. She's on a knife edge at any moment, that woman. She could kill you for anything. She's already done it to somebody. Do you not think it's a bit worrying?
She was a hormonal teenager.
Oh, okay. So what? A teenager can just kill somebody? Like, everyone's got one in them. Is that it?
Let's get back to the synopsis.
I just find it baffling because we're supposed to be 100% feeling bad for Bridget because she's a very sympathetic person, isn't she? She's got I feel really bad for her. And obviously Stu's reacting in a very sympathetic way. He feels, he doesn't want her to be punished. He wanted, he just feels mad about the time he's lost. He wants to put everything behind him. But I'm just watching this going, this girl is like one of the most notorious child murderers that we've ever had in this country. Because I know that there have been...
wasn't a child.
15 years old, she's a child.
Bridget was a child. Charlie wasn't a child.
She's a child murderer. She's a child who murdered somebody.
Okay, not a murderer of a child.
And the thing is, you've brought up a point there that I was getting to. Most child murderers in this country killed other children. How many of them went around killing adults? That's scary. I don't want children to start killing adults. That's worrying to me. I'll be on first on the list. I'm concerned about this. The morals here are all across the board, aren't they? So, who goes to Victoria? Lucy comes round and she's like, listen to me. They go to they're like, we need some privacy. Let's go to Victoria Gardens.
So
we've got to talk about this
We're
murder.
in a house. We need to talk about a murder. Where can we go? I know, Victoria Gardens, where everybody can hear it.
It's
Tim and
not just
Aggie
that.
are just there saying, excuse me, we've got some private business to do. Oh yeah, we got to talk about a
Bugger
murder.
off. Sorry, wine bench club. Get off. Get lost. It's not even that it's a public garden. It's that it is on a corner, right? And also that you can't see everybody who can hear you because people can be sneaking around behind the walls and things. It's just a really bad place for secret discussion. But luckily they get away with it. So they have a big argument and Lucy says, look, Bridget phoned me up. Didn't know what to do. I had to think fast. Charlie was already dead. And she's like, look, if you just asked me to tether up, I would have done. It's just like, I bet you wouldn't know, would you?
Yeah, it's all very well saying it now,
years later,
Stu,
like,
Mr. Nice Guy.
I would have definitely, like, would that have been your first reaction, honestly? Because that also seems dumb. This whole family, there's something in the water around wherever they were living. And he said, if I pled guilty, I would have a shorter sentence. Which that would have really annoyed me if I was Stu, I don't think I could ever sleep again. I think I'd hover above my bed because I'd be vibrating with rage. So Lucy's like, please don't do anything about this. Please don't tell the police. Think about Eliza. Think about that. And she says, get lost. So he goes back home. He sees the police car outside and he freaks out. He runs inside, but
it's for another storyline.
It's for a different story. And Jasmine's like, you got to get used to this, Stu, on this street. It's always an ambulance or a police car. He says to Jasmine, look, I don't want Eliza to go through her mum going to jail. I want them in my life. Now I know what happened. It's good enough for me. That my family knows it wasn't me. And that's all I care about. Meanwhile, that meddling Alia has, remember, sent off that thing that she got out of the bag.
The mug.
Bridget's thing to the DNA test.
Yes.
And she gets a message. And
Dee gets a message.
That's what I thought I'd said. Dee gets a message and tells Alia, we're gonna have the DNA tests for tomorrow, and Stu will be exonerated. Hooray!
So Alia was suspiciously absent, I think, for Wednesday's episode, because it would have been very handy for her to have heard any of this drama that was going on, but much more convenient for the plot that she was blissfully unaware of Bridget's confession until Friday.
So, on Friday, Yasmin's the only sensible one in the story. She's like, I couldn't sleep because your daughter killed a woman and pinned it on you for 27 years and her mum helped to cover it up. It's can I just say again, it's one thing to like bonk someone on the head and be like, whoops, oh well, accidents happen, can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. It's quite another thing to drag the corpse into the woods and bury it. Anyway, Stu's like, look, I don't want to ruin Eliza's life, let's just forget about it. Plenty of other things on this show have been forgotten that are more exciting than this. Isla comes down for breakfast, totally blissfully unaware. She goes around to see Dee at number 3. The test results aren't back, but she promises her she'll say. And Ali's like, I know Stu didn't do it. I know he didn't do it. So Stu arranges another secret meeting in Victoria Gardens, this time with Bridget. And she's feeling really bad. I don't know why now is the time she's decided that she's going to do it. She wants to hand herself in. And he says, no, I forgive you. And Eliza doesn't deserve to lose her mum. Please, I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose you again. And might not be easy for me to forgive Lucy, but I have to, and everyone's suffered enough. Let's just have a nice afternoon. I kind of see his point in a way. This is what makes me think that this theory that it definitely was Lucy and not Bridget is true, because Bridget's being far too much of a repentant murderer.
Yeah,
for everyone to be happy with her going to prison.
It makes sense that if she's been bottling it up because, we've seen that Lucy has basically ordered her, you will not tell anyone this. But now that she has, she probably feels such a weight off of her shoulders. I mean, you could see it in the performance
She smiled at one point.
Yeah, on Wednesdays. That now she's like, well, I've confessed this, so let's let the floodgates open. I want to tell everybody everything. I deserve some punishment here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dee Dee comes in and says, "Oh, got the results. It turned out that the DNA was half Stu, but half Lucy." And Ollie's like, "What does that mean?"
Dee Dee should have done, and I know she hasn't been on the street long enough, but she should have done a classic Corrie fake out here. Like, I got the results.
It's
no
negative.
DNA on there. No, not really.
No DDA.
No DNA. It is actually, so the results of the DNA show that it's part Lucy and part Stu.
Which I thought was
they take to mean as Bridget.
Yeah, it was weirdly, it was really weirdly stated. It made it sound as though Stu and Lucy killed her together.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
But no, they think it's Bridget. So here we go. So the DNA is Bridget's. But then they didn't test for Lucy,
it's on a bag, isn't it? Well, they didn't no. But I thought, I don't know.
Hang on a minute.
I thought they stole Lucy's DNA off her mug. I'm confused. It doesn't matter.
No, they don't have Bridget. Hang on, they don't have Bridget's DNA.
No.
They just have Stu and Lucy. They already had Stu's because he was convicted, and then they've got Lucy's now. I don't know why they got DNA off Stu because he confessed. But
it doesn't matter.
Lucy, it does matter a little bit because I'm trying to work this out.
Okay.
Lucy's DNA, they took that.
Yeah.
They didn't take Bridget's, but it was Bridget's.
Yeah.
Because it's half theirs, half.
Yeah.
So she must have hit her, and then.
Well, we know that Lucy and Bridget were there, so it doesn't particularly matter
whether
it was Lucy's
DNA
or Bridget.
There? Why isn't Lucy's DNA?
Well, maybe she just didn't pick up the bag, either.
The other thing I thought was weird about the storyline is this revelation as well. It's like by this point we'd already learned that Bridget confessed and said that she did it. So the fact that her DNA was not a revelation or a twist.
Yeah, well, it was to Alia and Dee Dee, though, and that's why Alia goes round and...
I know, but the fact that they found out was a bit like, oh... Okay.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought. As I said, back on today's episode, it was other characters finding out things that we already knew in some places, so it wasn't as exciting. Coronation
Street, and I'm sure other soaps, have this kind of stumbling block where people have to find out individually about something that you already know about, and it's not as exciting because you know.
Mm.
And, and also there was nothing unpredictable or interesting about their response, really. They were both shocked. Like, what else would they be? Like, oh no. Ollie's trouble. She's like, this is a bit messed up. And Dee Dee's like, oh yeah, because we did this through this charity and it's to exonerate innocent people. They're sort of really into the fact that they got a good result and they're going to give it to the police, so the police are going to look at it and they're going to come and arrest Bridget. And Alia's like, what have I done? I love this. I love how much Alia messed up trying to do the right thing. I think it's
if I was her, funny. I'd just leave Weatherfield in shame, to be honest.
I would just, I'd say, forget this. There's nothing I can do around it. Everyone sound grateful. So, Bridget comes round later on and Yasmin's feeling a bit... She's still feeling a bit weird about the fact that she knows this woman's a murderer, which I would be as well. And then Bridget goes, "Oh, I need to go for a slash," and everyone's like, "Oh my god, she's gonna kill again." Policeman comes in and says, "I need to talk to Stu. You might want to sit down." And then again, another revelation that we already knew: it's your daughter. She's the murderer. And he's like, "Oh no." And then they say, "We need to speak to Bridget. Do you know where she is?" And Stu thinks he can be like, "Oh, I don't know. She might be down the shop."
Yeah, he tries the delaying tactics.
How much can you just be like? Well, she thinks she went to Tesco. She won't be back for ages because she likes to look at the magazines.
She's like, I really hope she's found that joke book on the toilet and she's going to stay up there for another half an hour.
She comes down going, right, I've got a good joke. Right, listen to this one. So she comes downstairs and
She agrees to go off with the police, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's like,
I'll hand myself in, basically.
You moved it again.
No, it's here. It's literally here.
Yeah, she says, look, Dad, forget it, I'll go. Stu accuses Yasmin. He thinks it's her fault because she's the only one that he knows that Bridget confessed. So he's like, how dare you? You've ruined everything. And she's like, no, I didn't.
When this happened,
me.
I was like, oh, come on, why can't these two just get on? Like, if it's not Yasmin accusing Stu of the heinous crime of being a little bit like Jeff, now you got the shoe on the other foot. And part of me was thinking, how'd you like it now, Yasmin? But the rest of me was just thinking,
just bloody be nice to each other.
Why is this unnecessary drama of one of them falling out with the other one, or somebody getting the wrong end of the stick about something? And it didn't last very long either,
no, it's
did
fine.
it?
Yeah, but it's fine. It was a normal reaction. She's like, look, I didn't do it. And Stu's lecturing her, and Alia comes in. She's standing there listening, going, oh dear. Maybe
now's the time.
Eventually she pipes up and says, oh, actually, it was me. I was just trying to help. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? This is, you people. He acts madder at her than he did at Bridget for going, oh, sorry, Dad, you know that murder what everyone said you done? It was me, actually. I just remembered.
Yeah, Stu's proper mad
She's
at
mad
her,
at her.
isn't he?
Obviously, it's like a delayed...
Well, he's also embarrassed because he's just been having a massive go at Yasmin, his benevolent host at number 6. And now he's got to pedal back from that as well.
We didn't apologise, did he? So,
he did at the end, kind of.
I've got to go to the police station to talk to Bridget. So they go to the police station. Lucy's there going, I'll get my revenge.
I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for pesky Stu.
And Alia too. So
yeah, she had the police officer's hand
round
her arm, didn't
like going, you can't just bury people.
Yeah.
This unlicensed what's the word? Grave digging.
Yeah.
You got to have a license for that. And so she's all like mad at him, and he says he wants to see Eliza, and she says, over my cold dead corpse, which I thought was a weird turn of phrase. Because normally you'd say, over my cold dead body. But she said corpse, like she really likes that word. Or like she's trying to show off that she knew a fancy word for body. She probably looked up all the words.
Yeah.
So Stu goes up to the deck, like she says,
she can write her memoirs.
He says, I want Eliza, and she says, never. And then Stu like runs up to the desk like he thinks Eliza's there, going, oh, I don't know what to do then.
That desk sergeant as well was like, I don't think you should be here, sir.
What does that mean?
He's like, I'm on Corrie, I've got a line.
Oh, sorry, I just came in to use the vending machine. What do you mean I shouldn't be in here? So Eliza comes, basically he gets custody of Eliza for the night. She comes over, and this is when Stu and Yasmin are being very cute, and Yasmin's like, let's go and get your bedroom sorted out. And Eliza's like, why is Mummy and Grandma in prison? And they're like, oh, I don't know.
Just need to help them with their inquiries.
Alia comes in, and she's like, oh, you know Matt, Hunky Matt. The main reason they brought that character in is so I would have somewhere to stay tonight.
The next time I'm screwed up.
Yeah. So she says, so really sorry about this, Stu. And he's like, shut up, I'm not interested. So Yasmin and Stu sit on the sofa. He says, sorry. He has a little cry. And he's like, this is the worst thing that has happened to me. And that was really sad because he's been in prison for 27 years for a crime he didn't commit. And this is still the worst thing that's ever happened to him.
It was sad, but I don't think I was feeling that sympathetic towards Stu before at the end of the episode. I was just thinking, oh gosh, this story's not over yet. Why? And then he's got more misery. Like, I'll just bring it. I hope that they kind of come to some sort of conclusion to this, like next week. I don't need this to go on any longer than this. I like it when they try and put twists in and everything, but when it's good, it's fine. But I don't know. There's just too much to it that I'm not loving.
I think it's really interesting. I just really, really feel like it's lost in Coronation Street, which is a weird thing for me to say. And the main reason I think that it feels out of place in Coronation Street is because it's not about any of the main characters. And Stu's only been in it for like a year.
Yeah, maybe that is part of it.
And it's not about anybody that we know. We don't even know what Charlie looked like.
No.
I want to see her face to see if I think she deserved to die or not.
I want to see her with a clay chunk sticking out of her brain. You're right. Maybe that is the problem, and I do like Stu, I guess.
I like
but maybe
Stu.
I'm not as invested
in
him as much as I should be for this kind of story. And yes, Yasmin and Alia are involved in it, but they're kind of very much on the sidelines.
Yeah, but I like them as well. I like watching Alia getting everything wrong.
Yeah.
I really like people shouting at Alia. I want more of that, please.
But she just doesn't get the message, does she? She just lives to meddle another day.
She's just so oblivious to how rubbish she is at solving any sort of crisis. But it doesn't stop her from trying, does it?
No, she really likes to get a neb in, doesn't she?
So anyway, again, another thing that Coronation Street falls a cropper of, and it's only really probably with intense viewers like us who talk about it and, you know, discuss things and stuff, is how long it takes them to reveal what actually happened. And by the time they get around to it, everyone's already guessed about 500 different variations on the same thing. Yeah. And
although the thing is, in real life, it probably would take this long or longer. I mean, lots of things are sped up for Coronation Street. It just feels like they can drag sometimes, of course it would. Especially when there's weeks in between.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I still stand by the fact that it was a very unexpected and much appreciated twist on Wednesday when that revelation came out in the garden, because I wasn't expecting it. And
I did like that. I thought Wednesdays was great.
There's some really good performances. Like I said, Shelley King, really nice with her just happy, warm charmingness. And then Stu and what's it, Bridget, I can't remember her name, in the garden. That confession scene was great. Eliza I'm kind of enjoying, although she is a little bit stage schooly, pushy mummish with her precociousness in a way, but I kind of like her.
She's just a little Hermione.
Yeah, she is a little bit. And what did you think of the fact that Stu forgave Bridget and didn't want to, get her to confess?
It was more like he literally is so sick of this now. It's just all he wanted was for his family to accept him and know that he didn't do it, and now he knows that they always knew all along.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was just the shock that made him say forget it. Maybe if he thought about it longer or he dwelled on it anymore, he might start to sort of resent them a bit more. But
he's been estranged from his family for all these years, and yeah. He's been thinking, what's my family up to? I've missed Bridget. He was trying to contact Bridget for months, wasn't he, before all of this happened?
The fact that they both
and now he's got her. Yeah. Would he willingly let her go? I'm not sure. And she's clearly repentant. She's not, going to be murdering somebody. She's not going to do it again.
You don't know if she's murdered again since.
She was a kid. It was in a moment of passion. I don't think there's any no chance of her lashing out or anything again. So, and you can't turn back the clock. So I think I might be on Stu's side here. I might hold on to it so that later when we're having an argument, I could bring it out and say, I went to prison for 27 years for you, like. I think
hold it against him forever.
No, it'd be, and he's got a lovely granddaughter that he would willingly say, no, I don't want to ever see you again. So fair play to him, actually.
I do kind of agree that that's probably the best way of going about it, but I also think that the fact that Bridget and Lucy also treated him like a murderer for all those years was really disgusting, actually. They could have pretended to be on his side and supported him and gone, we believe you, we know you didn't do it, Dad. You know what I mean?
They didn't treat him like a murderer for years. They had nothing to do with him for years.
Exactly, because they were trying to preserve themselves. They could have gotten away with it and still supported him and written to him, because it would be totally normal for them. There are plenty of families who support somebody who's clearly committed a murder.
I think I just hold on to the fact that I think that Lucy had Bridget round her little finger, and Lucy was terrified of her mum, and the mum was saying
Bridget was terrified.
Bridget was Bridget. So yes,
yeah.
Can't do it.
It's fine.
And Bridget was being told and had been fed from a very early age, if you tell anybody about this, you and me will both be sent down to prison, and we don't want that, do we?
I also think there's a very strong possibility that Bridget remembers things completely wrong.
Yeah, I think so. And especially if Lucy did it, she would have fed her the story. It's child abuse.
Oh.
And it has...
it's child abuse.
I'm raising the games here. It's raising the stakes. She's made her think something that possibly didn't happen, and has basically ruined Bridget's life for the past 30 years just to save her own skin.
I'm gonna go on a limb here, and I'm gonna say that I don't think that Bridget really did all that much, and she's forgotten a lot of the things that actually did happen because her mum's given her all these false memories.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not you. What do you mean?
That's what I said. That's what I'm saying. So I just hope that it comes out soon. That's all, because you can tell that we're getting a little bit bored by it, but there's enough that's keeping us interested. Don't let it drop off. I mean, this story's been going for long enough that we're gonna reach the end of the filming block soon, aren't we? And then it's probably going to be put in a box for another month or so, and I don't really need that. Let's get some conclusion, and then we can say, okay, wasn't the best story, but at least it wasn't still going at Christmas. But maybe it will be, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
The other thing that would liven this story up a bit more is like somebody who knew Charlie, apart from just a man with cockroaches.
Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, right, Maria. There's something about Maria. And on Monday, we get to see the Platts tidying up their house because Orla Crawshaw is coming back over later. She's back, Gemma, Orla. Still don't know what's happened to Mr. Griffin. He can't be busying himself with all this kind of stuff, so he set the deputy once again to try and have this meeting about what we're going to do with Max then. David is fed up with Maria spending all of her time with refugees, which is her new thing. And Max says, well, look, at least she's doing something worthwhile. And actually, I'm mates with a refugee. He's called Darian. Max has got a friend. Lovely. So we get to see this Darian refugee in the cafe later. And he seems like a fairly innocent, nice chap, doesn't he? Like, he's just had just been kicked in the ghoulies by circumstance over the years, and now he's here in Weatherfield and he wants to have a nice life with his good pal Max.
Did he say where he was from?
I don't think he did. I think they were fairly vague. Abroad.
Oh, my
Could
country.
be anywhere.
When I was in my country.
And maybe he's just come from like Walford or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
Or maybe he's a refugee from this storm they're having in Emmerdale, maybe. Anyway, he's doing a project on displacement, is Max, handy. And then Daniel comes in and overhears Max.
I think it's a bit rude.
Why?
He's just using him for his knowledge.
Yeah, he is. He's been very resourceful.
Are they both in this Prue thing together?
No.
So
Darian's not in Prue. He's just local refugee.
Can I also just say, right?
Darian's looking for a school place.
Darian seems very nice and quite easygoing and friendly.
He's a bit like Samir.
Right.
Like,
he's going to die.
Just generally good.
He's going to die. I'm sure, though, for whatever reason he's a refugee, it's probably quite traumatic and sad and recent. And then Max is going, can I do a project on your trauma, please?
Yeah, good point.
It's like, I'm going to do a bar graph.
Anyway, Daniel comes into the cafe and he overhears Max talking to him about Weatherfield High because Max is kind of hoping that he's going to be able to get back in there. And he's quite surprised to hear this because he's like, I don't think they're going to let you in somehow because I was a teacher for a good 6 months, so I'm an expert on the education system. Max starts interviewing this Darian about how long he's been in the UK, how long he's going to stay there and everything. And basically the upshot is Darian doesn't know. He's got to have an interview with the Home Office and that could be years away. So he's just kind of hanging around until then.
It felt like one of those Coronation Street public service announcements, didn't it?
I don't know what you mean.
And then Maria's like, yeah, it's true. It can take up to 2 years to process these interviews with the Home Office.
She's just given up with the environment, hasn't she? She's like, who cares about the world anymore? I'm all about the people now.
And also, but who knows whether he's going to be in charge of the Home Office in 2 years?
Yeah, who knows?
Nobody.
Crawshaw comes round number 8 later and has a bit of an awkward sit with David while they wait for Shona to come round. And she popped back around eventually and says, oh yeah, I've been with Max. Tell you what, Max can't wait to return to Weatherfield High. And then it's like, oh, it's a little bit awkward. David is. Orla says, no, he can't come round. Actually, he can't. Once we've kicked him out, it's an irreversible change. So sorry. Oh, and also, it's the fact that the place has been filled, isn't it? It's not just that why would we want him back? It's, we haven't got any places, but you'd still, I guess, put him on the waiting list. Schools have, like...
Really long waiting list.
Yeah, they do, but they also have children coming and leaving all the time, so, put him on there. We like our allotment. You get him back in 2 years' time. Anyway, So David says, like, please, come on. And she says, no, sorry. No, nowhere for him to go. Max comes home later. Shona has to break the news to him that he can't go back to where they hire yet. And Max is proper disappointed because of all the naughty boys at the Prue.
They literally decided, like, a week ago that he was going to go back to Weatherfield High, and they're confused that somebody said, no, that's not possible. Why did they decide that it was possible without consulting anybody at all? They just got it in their heads. I guess they just didn't like it there.
I would understand if some parents weren't completely au fait with the intricacies of the in and out school system.
Yeah, but you can't just decide something and then be mad at everybody else for not doing it.
But David's like, he's still got his name on a peg in the corridor. Come on.
Yeah.
Max is like, oh, that's a bit of a shame. All my mates are there. All the bullies are at the Prue. What am I going to do? And David and Shona are like, we will not stop fighting for you. We will get you back to Weatherfield High.
We need you to literally fight for me then, don't I?
So later on, Darian's at the cafe still with Maria talking about being anxious, about writing to the Home Office and everything. Then David and Max come into the cafe and Darian says, hey, good news, Max. I've been taken into Weatherfield High. Now I will be there with you. And Max is like, what the hell? So you're the reason that I can't go back to that school. My best new buddy Darian, you're now my mortal enemy. You've taken my place.
You've stolen my job.
And now I hate you, and I'm possibly going to turn into a racist. I don't know.
Stealing our jobs.
Yeah, they took our school places.
And doing our projects for us.
That was a half-hearted South Park accent. Yeah, it turned into a bit Bristol. Back at home, David tells Max that Maria... maybe she can do something to help because she's an MP. That's what counsellors do, isn't it? Counsellors help children get into schools. Vicars give out soup. Then we all know everything about what people who don't work in liquor factories do. Max says she's not going to be able to do anything. She's just rubbish. A virtue signaler, a virtue signaler, and a jumped-up hairdresser.
She's a bit though.
Got her number. Wednesday, Gary finds Maria reading through some nasty comments about her in the Gazette article about her refugee work. So this kind of problem that was going on back in the summer times clearly still not cleared up. Everyone's being nasty to her because she's a lady politician.
Don't look on Twitter.
I'd say, why can't they just channel their energies into being horrible about Liz Truss like everyone else is? If they've really got a problem with female politicians.
Honestly, there's
a bigger target over at number 10, I tell you.
Did you see that Twitter feed of who's going to last longer at Liz Truss or a lettuce?
A lettuce?
Yeah, there's a picture of Liz Truss and there's a wet lettuce and they're going to see which one makes it longer.
The best thing on Twitter this week, sorry Liz Truss fans, was her going to meet the king and him going on with, what did he say?
Oh dear, oh dear. I loved it. So I don't think he was aware of what that sounded like.
Really?
But, well,
chip off the old block, again, old dad would have said that. Can I just say
another thing again? I know that she is not a royalist and I don't necessarily agree that you should have to curtsy. I think women should have a choice of if you want to bow your head in respect or curtsy. And I also want to say that you're not bowing to the person, you're bowing to the office that they hold. But you know, that's the convention, and she's decided to curtsy, but she's decided she's not going to learn how to do it. Both times I've seen her, she looks like a rag doll that's had her strings cut.
Oh, come on, let's leave the PM alone out of this.
I really honestly think that without a long skirt, curtsying looks incredibly inelegant, and I don't like the way it looks. But she surely can decide whether or not she wants to curtsy or not. And she's choosing to do it, and she just looks like... I just want somebody to help her.
You go and help her.
She's like, of all the things that you can get wrong...
Come on.
Actually, I'd rather she got that wrong and everything else right.
Yeah, I get everything else.
She can't.
No politics.
I don't think there's anybody who's going to be offended by us talking about Liz Truss.
Liz Truss might be one of our... She might be a top tier Patreon subscriber. If we go
Michael,
down $10
I'm going to tell you
month.
that we can't rely on her for a source of income. I think she's going to be employed for long.
Anyway, Gary says, look, don't read the comments, just ignore them. And she's like, but I want to read the article. No, I can't help it. This is clearly getting to her, even though she says it isn't. It's horrible. I do really feel for Maria.
I feel really bad for anybody that has to... a public... I mean, you know...
Unless, apart from Liz Truss. Anyway. Aren't we hypocritical here? Worse than that, Sally Webster. More about that later. So, she's still looking at these comments in the cafe later, and David sees there's one saying that she should get back to her day job at the Trim Up North. And he's like, thank you very much. You've now bringing the trolls to our door.
Name check.
So David finds Max working from home later because he's taken it upon himself to stay home from school and work at home, as we do now post-pandemic. And he says, look, Max, I can't remember what the reason they came up with was, but the long and short of it is he wants to borrow Max's laptop because his doesn't work or something like that.
He wants
Max
to troll Maria.
No, I am doing my homework on it actually, about refugees or whatever. And David's like, no, come on, let me have your laptop.
I'm doing my homework about why refugees...
You don't want to do homework, do you?
Shouldn't be allowed to steal school places.
And Max is like, no, thank you very much. He takes his laptop upstairs. Later on in the cafe, David tells Shona that he is somewhat suspicious of Max. Why is he clinging on to his laptop so much? Surely he can't really want to do homework that much, can he?
He's probably just looking at porn.
Yeah, exactly. What else? Why could a teenager not want me to look at what they've been looking at online? He must be trolling Maria.
Why is this teenage boy so insistent on going upstairs to his bedroom with his laptop that he won't let me see?
He's too busy telling all the people on chat rooms how hench he is. That's it, isn't it?
Hench, yeah.
Anyway, Shona's like, I don't know, David. You might be barking up the wrong tree here. But David is convinced, though, and he's got to confront Max. So he goes home, snatches the laptop off his kid, says, you're the troll, you did it. And Max is like, no, I didn't. It wasn't me. And David says, yes, you've been reading the article. That was saying virtue signalling. That's what you said before. Clearly you. What is it? Sad boy 55.
Yeah.
I don't know why Max would choose that. I don't know. Why would anyone choose that for themselves?
Misdirection.
I don't know. I think, my dad sometimes... my mum used to have 55 on some of her usernames because that was her date of birth. So I think that we're probably going looking for someone slightly older than Max here.
I bet she never called herself Sad Boy.
She did not. My mum is not Sad Boy 55.
But I bet if she could, she would have trolled some people on Facebook.
Anyway, David says, look, you need to go and tell Maria... Because Max says, no, it wasn't me, I swear. And David says,
refugee comments.
If you saying it's not you, you go and swear that to Maria, look her in the eyes and tell her. And Max is like, no, you should just believe me. I'm your son, man. You don't believe me, I'm out of here. He storms out.
Toodaloo.
Yeah, David's incensed because he's convinced that Max is the guilty one here. And Shona says, look, don't do anything rash. Just sit down, talk calmly to Max and see what you can get out of him. So Max goes home later. And this is when we find the police there. So this is the police car that Stu thought was there to take him in and put him in handcuffs. But no, it was there for Max. David has dobbed Max in. He's called the Rozzers on him. And they're seizing all of his electronic devices, taking him down to cop shop. And they're going to look around all of his passwords and whatever and find out whether or not he is Sad Boy 55. Shona goes with him as his appropriate adult. And David tells Maria... Oh, you know what? Just in case you haven't picked this up, reckon Max is the troll. I hate it how they say troll. It was the same with the Kathy story. Troll. This is just Kathy that's doing this, isn't it? She's just trying to get back into Coronation Street. She can't do it. It's troll, not troll.
Trolling. I think this is so bizarre that David did it. And also, I just want to point out, this probably sounds a bit outlandish if you don't live in the UK, but you can actually be arrested and questioned and have your electronic devices seized if you write something mean about somebody on the internet.
Well, I think that's probably the same in lots of places, isn't it?
No.
Isn't it? Oh, okay. Anyway, we only got a little bit of this story on Friday. We don't get to see any of Max's interview scenes, but Shona recounts how upset Max was in the interview room last night, yada, yada, yada. Max comes downstairs. He's like, I don't want to go to school today either. David says to Shona, right, the police, so what? He didn't confess in the interview, but they still need to check his laptop and stuff. Basically, I still think he's it.
On stitching up Max.
He's like, I was a wrong un when I was his age. Surely also, he must be too.
Do you not think this is a bit like, this feels like a bit of a personality transport? Because I can imagine David being a sort of bloke. He'd be like, so what if he wrote nasty messages on the internet? It's not a crime, is it? Oh, it is a crime. Well, it's a stupid crime.
I don't know. David has got a lot more sensible in recent years.
It's not sensible to get arrested for being rude on Twitter to somebody. He needs to grow a pair.
He just wants
to tell Maria to suck it up.
He wants to make sure that Max is kept on the straight and narrow. He said.
So what? So he's getting him arrested?
Well, yeah. He wants to scare him straight. Basically.
I don't agree. I just think he's overreacting. I think that David doesn't feel like the sort of character to me who would be behind the police arresting children for writing rude messages?
I don't know.
Also, what did
I think if he thinks
me?
that it's going to make a difference and not make him go down the same path he did.
Can you remind me what the messages said?
You're a nasty lady politician and you are a virtuous signaller. And
is that really a criminal offence?
You cut hair badly. I don't know what
I don't think we know what they actually. What he
I can't
actually
remember.
Said.
Far too vile to be shown at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night.
You're a fat cow.
Yeah. You're the Weatherfield bike, Maria. Everybody knows it. Anyway,
you look stupid in your lion costume.
Lunchtime, we had a nice little scene with Gail and Max where she says, "Well, I think you're innocent, actually," but she's adult, so don't trust anything that Gail says.
She's going to make him macaroni cheese. It's not macaroni cheese, it's macaroni and cheese.
I think macaroni cheese
is
an acceptable variant.
No, it's mac and cheese. Don't say macaroni cheese to me.
David comes in into the house. He gets a phone call from the police. They're round their way to speak to all of them, and he's like, yeah, bang them up. But it turns out that they've checked Max's stuff and whatever else they may have found on his computer that's probably perfectly normal for a teenage boy. There is no sign of any messages to Maria.
I'm surprised they come around and say, right, we can't arrest him for Maria's stuff, but my God, there's a load of other things.
Yeah, we've got a list.
Very illegal that are on there.
Yeah.
He's been downloading films for a start.
It must be like, Max must be,
what?
I kind of imagine that he has got a bit of stuff there that he wouldn't want anybody knowing about.
Yeah.
But I suppose if the police, they're not, they're
not looking for that.
No, they're not looking for that. And if they find it, there's no reason to say. So Max is probably, well, they've got a warrant to check his stuff.
I know, but does the warrant be like, you're not allowed to look up, you're not allowed to write www.p
or X. No, I know.
What was it? Dirty Widows.
Oh yeah.
What was all the ones that Sally found?
Yeah, I know. I don't remember. No, I think that they would have just looked in his internet browser history and seen everything that he saw. But so Max was probably bricking it. But at the end of the day, they're probably like, I've seen a lot worse on other people's computers, and we're not looking for that. Yeah. So I think unless he's looked at anything illegal, which clearly he hasn't. He's cleared off those pictures of Summer's upskirting that he was looking at earlier this year.
And all the stuff the GHB that he...
Yeah, that's a good
The police
point.
are like, no,
it says here that
this
you
is an old
ordered
storyline. Oh no, we can't arrest you for that.
Yeah, there's a statute of limitations there.
Now this kind of reminds me as well of, I'm pretty sure that he is not Sad Boy 55. And
well, it's another
else.
case of somebody being accused of something, isn't it?
But I will point out that there was a case, was it Casey Anthony? He was accused of killing her
child. Know.
And they looked on her internet history to like prove whether or not she did it, but they didn't look on Firefox. They only looked on Internet Explorer, and there was a load of really incriminating stuff on Firefox, like how to murder a child and get away with it. Not exactly that, obviously, but I think she would have. I just wonder if the police are a bit more on it now these days.
I'd be able to get away with these things because I still use Edge. And if the police sees my laptop, they'll be like, surely nobody still uses Edge to go on the internet, do they? We've looked on Chrome, it looks like he never actually ever goes on the internet. Looked on... even Firefox isn't that big anyway. Everybody just seems to use Chrome these days, but I don't.
Use Chrome.
I think that Edge is lovely. I'm old-fashioned.
Safari.
Well, on your phone you do. You don't use it on your PC.
I use loads of different browsers on my PC because you come along and you use mine and you waste all my tabs.
No, I haven't been on your PC
so I have to use
a different.
I have to use a different browser to you.
So if Max isn't Sad Boy 55, then the question is, who is then?
Yeah, but
and really, it's a bit like the Stu storyline where it's
really
like there's probably only a few people it could be.
And it's also,
probably some of those nasty boys from school, isn't it?
Trying to fit him up. It's like it's probably not a main character, and if it's not, I don't care. And if it is a main character. I'm kind of feeling like going on and trolling Maria myself now.
If I was Max, I'd go and troll David.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, that weird hairdresser.
I would assume
from Tremont North looks like he's got a waxy face to me.
Max honestly does just seem too nice now. I mean, when they brought him in as Paddy a year or so ago, it was to give him a bit of an edge. But I think really deep down, he is a good kid, and that he always was a good kid when he was little. And yeah, I think that it probably wasn't him. But this is, I suppose, just going to drive a wedge between father and son. And what will they do? They just need to go on a family bonding holiday. I'm going to say something controversial. Go on.
Dave has gone right off the boil, and it's Max's fault.
What?
Yeah. I really like Max now, but I don't care about David as a dad. I find it very boring.
Yeah, he's not like Dev dad. Being a dad of a teenager has been the making of Dev, hasn't it? But with David, it's just not made his character that interesting.
Thank you for making it seem like I'm not just against parents.
No.
I'm not at all. I just think we always used to say David was one of the most interesting characters on Coronation Street, and I've argued in the past when I was drunk that I think David Platt is one of the most fascinating characters in fiction.
He's just going
but
through
now
a down...
he's boring as hell, and it really is just all revolves around him being an accessory to Max's story instead of being having his own story.
I wouldn't say he's boring as hell. At the end of the day, he's still David. He's still played by Jack P. Shepherd, who's clearly one of the best actors they got on the show. So there's a level that you're not going to get lower than if you're him. And David will still... You can always rely on him for a funny, snarky comment or something like that. But I mean, compared to how David was up until about 2 years ago, there's really no comparison.
If you started watching Coronation Street 2 years ago, you would not get the hype.
No.
But why does everyone think David's such a great character? I don't get it.
I think it's...
the
stories haven't revolved around David.
This is a cautionary tale to Coronation Street in general, that you can't just coast on characters' previous success. And we've seen it time and time again. Same things happened to Carla.
Yeah.
You can't just rely on a character's reputation and previous storylines to sort of keep them in everyone's good graces.
I think, I'm kind of thinking now that...
Very fickle.
Maybe we need to wait for Max to grow up a little bit more and move out, and then it'll be back to being David and Shona. That's what we need. We need a David and Shona story. They're fab. And Shona, like I've said before, has never really had a big storyline of her own, and that's what they need. I'm not really worried about the character of the David going off the boil, because it'll just take one good story and then it'll be right back up again.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned in the slightest. So it's just he's going through a bit of a slow patch at the moment. I don't think he's going to be a nominee on the Top Lad Award this year, but he will be again. I still think he's one of Corrie's most valuable assets is Jack P. Shepherd.
Yeah.
But I suppose what I'm most worried about is where I've seen Jack in interviews say, "Well, yeah, I'll stay in Coronation Street as long as I get the good stories." As long as he thinks that he's getting good stories, that's fine. But
somebody's got to
he's
keep
not
him
much
in
at the moment.
Hermes belts. Right. So who do we think the troll is?
Yeah, it's just some of the nasty teenagers.
Not a nasty boy.
I imagine.
Yeah, but how do they know Maria? I suppose they do know Maria because they were standing there when he was being bullied, and he ran up to Maria and went, "Help me, please."
Did they take his phone and look at his phone or something when they accosted him last week?
Maybe.
I can't remember. I should have known because we watched that film being filmed enough times. It
does seem also a bit kind of obscure and Machiavellian for a teenage boy to try to frame him for nasty messages. Do you not think it seems a bit odd? Like these boys last week were like pushing him over and stealing his crisps, and now this week they've got this really grand plot to frame him for mischievous
and how would
electronic communication.
What have they actually done to try and make it look like it was Max?
Yeah,
like if they were trying to frame him. Yeah, it's David.
At one point I thought it was David, to be honest, because he was like, "I want to see your laptop." Why? So you can read messages to Maria? Because David was actually quite mad at Maria for going off, but I don't think he would be evil enough to accuse Max of doing it and get the police on him.
You're right. I think whoever it is that's doing it, if they were trying to make Max look guilty, they'd probably make it more obvious that it was Max.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know what's happening here, and I'm not that intrigued.
I'm not mega intrigued by it, but the cast is still decent, and like you said, Max has definitely grown on me an awful lot. So,
and I'm sure that other people are getting more out of some of these storylines than we are.
And I was kind of interested in that Darian as well. He seems like a nice guy.
Darian, again, he felt like there are a few people on Coronation Street who just feel like they don't know they're in a soap, and it's just a real person who stumbled in, and he really did seem like he thought he was actually just being asked a question in a cafe by a nice person who's interested in him being a refugee.
Yeah. Right, next story. Sorry, Gemma, you've got the summer storyline, but you do have the first scene of the whole week on Coronation Street, which was pretty special to us, wasn't it?
It was, yes. Monday, Todd sees Paul coming out of the cafe, and Paul says, "What happened last week with Aaron punching him?"
He basically just recounts for the benefit of the viewers, this is what happened last week.
And also for the benefit of anybody who might be watching the scene being filmed, because this was
a scene that we saw being filmed this week.
And this is how we met
Gareth Pierce,
Welsh
Todd.
He came over and said hello to us. He was very nice.
Yeah, well, this was on the Friday when we went in and we were supposed to go in to see some of the editing bits with Matt, weren't we?
Yeah, and I meant to look at the credits to see everybody's names, because we would have known who some of those people.
Yeah. So, he couldn't take us up there, so he delivered us to the street, and we walked past Sally Dinover and Lorna, didn't we? And I don't know whether, and we didn't get to see any of that being filmed, so I don't know whether it's been on or not. But anyway, she did give us a little wave.
She's really nice.
And then we went round to the corner where the cafe was, and Gareth and Peter Ash were in the middle of filming this scene, and it was a fairly nondescript scene, wasn't it? But I remember watching it thinking, guys, that Summer and Aaron storyline still going on in October.
You're rude.
It's still a long way to go with that one yet, it looks like. But we only saw the tail end of it, didn't we? They filmed it and that was it. But I suppose the takeaway from it was that Gareth came over and had a nice chat with us afterwards.
And he's so dapper.
He was very nice, yes.
He's so nice. He was so really, really nice.
Very softly spoken and charming.
All the actors who came over to talk to us, even though they didn't know who we were, I just think are so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was also when we saw, who was the Scottish lady?
That's exactly what I was trying to work out.
I can't remember what her name was. Dale, that's right. But she was working alongside Rhys Dinsdale, wasn't she?
Bloody fascinating. This was
Rhys
directed by Rhys Dinsdale, so we got to see him directing a scene, which actually was also fascinating, because we actually got to see two different directors and their different styles.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we mentioned this before, but it was interesting to me to see different people and how they approached it differently. And you can definitely tell Rhys Dinsdale was coming at it from his previous acting experience, because Matt Hilton spent a lot of time setting up camera shots and working out what we were going to see through the screen and how best to tell the story in a visual way. Whereas Rhys Dinsdale was more, right, you stand here, you do this, you look like that, he was really getting down
on the level of the actors, wasn't he?
He was trying to direct their performance, whereas Matt Hilton seemed to just let them decide how they were going to, because, we saw Mikey and Samia, and who play Maria and Gary, and they were talking about how they were going to move and react and things, and he obviously had input, but it felt like Rhys Dinsdale was very much more hands-on with the performances. I just thought that was an interesting...
It was, because we also saw a Paddy Beaver, Jack P. Shepherd, Julia Goulding scene, which I thought was supposed to be on tonight's episode, but it wasn't.
No.
And now I'm thinking, has that scene been cut? Have we seen?
I do wonder if the scene's been cut.
Have we seen a Coronation Street scene that is never to be aired, and is it canon? But I guess it might just be on Monday or Wednesday's episode next week.
We'll talk about it if it ever... We'll talk about it once.
If it's not aired by the end of next week, we'll tell you what happened in it. Unless somebody gets in touch with us and says, no, don't reveal it.
But it was really interesting. Again, that scene as well, which we won't talk about. But being able to
I think it'll be on next week.
Being able to see a scene filmed on the street was fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was why we thought that Monday's first scene was the best scene of the week.
Yes, because we were there.
Right. Aaron stayed over at Billy's, and he's getting phone calls from his dad, but he's just ignoring them. And Billy and Todd are like, right, I'll go and talk to them if you like. Paul comes up later, and he's annoyed that Summer doesn't have her insulin pump. And, she was going to get it fitted, and then she didn't. And then he blames Aaron and says, this is all your fault.
Paul's full of anger towards
Aaron. And then they
square
up to each other, and Summer has to break it up. And Paul says, as soon as Aaron steps out of line, you call me, I'll come and sort him out for you.
Yeah, people I've seen online saying, is this really in character for Paul? Because he had issues with Kel, didn't he? His kind of stepdad. And you'd have thought that maybe that might lead him to have sympathy with Aaron, who's being beaten up by his dad, but no.
I don't think so. I don't think that it's not at all the same situation.
I just think it's in character that Paul's always kind of aggressive and angry.
And I think the other thing to remember here is that they're making this trifecta of dads, and so each of them has to have, kind of like they're in a superhero team, a distinctly different style of parenting. So Todd's Billy's style is like to wring his hands and kind of like
hope for the best
and pray.
Yeah.
Todd's like the level-headed kind of like practical advice person.
Kids will be kids.
And then Paul's like, I'll beat the crap out of anybody. You just point me in a direction and I'll just have their throats.
Yeah.
So I quite like that. I think it's good. And also, I don't necessarily think, they're all paragons of virtue, but it is interesting to see all these different types of ways of being a dad and how sometimes they're more useful and sometimes they're not. Like sometimes, because it's soap, Summer probably will need Paul to beat somebody up for her.
Yeah.
So
can't do it herself, pipsqueak.
She is. She's so tiny.
Although she does have Aaron the giant.
Yeah, I know. There was a scene. I can't remember what scene it was, where she was just standing in the middle of these giant men. I was thinking, gosh, she's so petite.
That's how she gets cast, as somebody that's 5-6 years younger than her.
Yeah. So Todd and Billy come back after a fruitless trip to try to talk to this dad and say, look, Aaron, you need to stay away from him because he needs to calm down. But later, Aaron's dad's still trying to call him, so Aaron turns his phone off, and then the police come because there's been a house fire and his dad's been taken to the hospital.
Oh no.
So they go to the hospital, his dad's fine, but he can't see him, and Aaron's fretting that maybe they're lying.
I love it. In a soap, when they want to have some kind of dramatic cliffhanger, there's been a massive fire after the break, he's okay, or there's been a car crash, nobody's injured. Like they just throw in these things that should be huge, but it's just like, no, it's nothing.
Yeah, but remember that man who got run over when his biscuits got broken, and then he died.
I know.
And then Emma ran away to Australia. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it turns out that I think Aaron's dad got drunk and left his chip pan on.
Yeah, he did.
Don't make chips when you're drunk. That's why they've got Deliveroo and Just Eat, okay? So,
oh, we had some nice things in our chip pan today, didn't we? We had some fried... Oh, no, that wasn't in the chip pan.
I didn't make it in a chip pan.
But we had some fried green tomatoes, which was lovely. It was some like... What was it? It was like battered. Was it? Yeah.
Yes, what do you...
But Gemma did make some very nice chips in our chip pan on Monday.
I did.
Without setting fire to the house.
I didn't set fire to anything.
No.
But we should
Were you drunk when you made it?
Yes, I'm always drunk. We should have a fire extinguisher, really.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't think that Aaron's dad was making fried green tomatoes in his chip pan.
No.
He needed oxygen in the ambulance, but he's going to be fine, and Aaron wants to go and sit with him. So Todd and Paul show up and find Summer looking worried in the waiting room with Billy, and then Paul's like kung-fuing the vending machine.
That was so weird. What was that all about? There's a packet of stuck crisps, wasn't there? A packet of Dempsey's.
We need to do the scene we're going to cut in Canada.
That was bizarre. That was, we're running 10 seconds short in this episode.
Kung-fu the crisps out.
Let's get him to, peculiar choice.
Aaron tells his dad that he was worried he wasn't going to wake up, and he says, I wish I hadn't, which I think's rude. Later on, Aaron goes to the waiting room.
I wish I hadn't woken up, then I wouldn't have to spend any more time with my boring son.
Yeah, sorry Aaron, you're dull. That's why I'm drunk all the time. Boring.
I drink to forget that I begat you.
Later on, Aaron goes, no, we don't agree with child abuse.
No.
Later on, Aaron goes back to the waiting room and Paul's like still mad at him and like threatening to beat him up. Aaron tells Summer that his dad wishes he was dead, and then at home, Aaron's feeling very guilty about the fact that his dad was probably trying to phone him for help when he was on fire.
I'm on fire, Paul. Can you phone the fire brigade, please? I don't remember the number.
So he said, I should. Basically, he blames himself. He wants a normal life. He feels responsible for his dad, and he feels like he can't leave him alone. So he decides to go home to look after his dad properly, and he breaks up with Summer to protect her from his messed up family life. So on Wednesday, Summer and Billy find Aaron coming out of the medical centre because he was asking for help about his dad. Dr. Gaddis has fobbed him off with a leaflet. Doesn't sound like her at all. He's trying to slander Dr. Gaddis here. Summer says...
They fobbed us off with a description of what Gaddis said rather than showing Dr. Gaddis.
Yeah, maybe Dr. Gaddis really hates Aaron. Maybe she thinks he was boring as well. She wouldn't listen. Have a leaflet. Go away. It's teen pregnancy or something. Here you go. So Summer says, I want to help, but Aaron doesn't want her to. Then Ardy checks that Summer's okay, and he's been down because R. Kelly's left, and they wallow together. They go for tea cakes at the cafe. It's very wholesome. Summer goes home, and there are people there doing a charity clothes swap thing, And God.
I didn't know what was going. I was flatlining, and never mind about Aaron's dad. By this point in the story, I was like, who are these people in the flat? I don't bloody know.
Is this to do with Hayley's coat?
What's going on with Hayley's coat? Literally, has Roy given up on that coat?
Right, so
Evelyn's gone away somewhere. So
I'll help you do this. Billy says, great, that'll help you get over Aaron. And then she probably starts crying again.
She doesn't.
And then he says she's going to wait for him to realise and get back together with her.
Oh, yeah, that happened this week, didn't it? Sorry, didn't grab me.
I think the guy who plays Aaron's really good. I think that he's really captured the brooding teen aesthetic.
And feel bad for him getting beaten up for his dad and everything.
Yeah, it's really, like, it feels very much like the sort of thing I would have read in a book about teen book when I was that age and gone, oh, Aaron's so dreamy.
It's just and miserable, troubled. Isn't it? It's just so miserable.
Yeah, but troubled man, Michael. Oh, they're so erotic.
I enjoyed Ardy being back in it because I love Ardy, and when he showed up, I was like, oh, is Ardy going to get back with Summer again? Because they had a bit of a thing the other year. Maybe that could be good. I don't really know. Is that going to be Ardy versus Aaron? And is it weird that Summer's two boyfriends' names both start with AA?
Yeah, that's very unusual.
Yeah, the battle of the R's this is going to be.
And I can't wait for her to
Who's going to come first in the phone book?
With one of Spider's eco-warrior friends.
Why?
Aardvark.
Yeah, I bet he has got one, hasn't he? Sorry, fans of the Summer story.
It's not for us, I don't think. I think it's... Well, you tell me. Are you a teen?
No.
No, you tell me if you're listening. If you're a teen, what do you think? Do you like this? Is this what you want? Is it
Aaron's
fun?
so dreamy.
Do you think he's dreamy? Do you like Summer? Do you like the angst? I think angsty teens are great. I just don't, not anymore for me.
They just don't have enough
oomph
to them.
Just really honestly cannot unsee Aaron as the vampire from Twilight. So I'm just waiting for him to start glowing in the dark or whatever he does.
Well, we'll have to wait until next week for that one because it's time to move on to the next story. Tim and Aggie, platonic or shaggy? So as Gemma said earlier, I think I mixed up a few notes earlier. They were just sniffing around each other a little bit earlier on in the week. They weren't
sniffing around, excuse me.
They were
chatting as friends.
Yes, they were very platonically chatting.
And she was telling him about Didi and missing whatever the boy's name who does football. Yeah.
So Aggie overhears Sally showing Yasmin her necklace in Wednesday's episode, just to remind us of that, and she's like,
to remind everybody,
I helped find that necklace.
It was the engagement,
the circles.
Anniversary necklace that she helped him find for Sally.
Yeah, Sally talks to Tim later, says I booked a table at the bistro later in the week. Tim and Aggie have a chat later, and Aggie says, by the way, if Ed or anybody asks you about this necklace that you got me last week, remember that I've said it's mine for ages, so can you keep up with my story? And Tim's like, yeah, fair enough. So at the end of the episode, you see Tim and Sally watching some old period drama thing together, which is kind of funny because clearly Tim had no idea what was going on, and it reminded me a little bit about when me and you watch TV, and you know full well that I've got
no idea.
No clue what's happening.
You're just like a dog.
But
watching
like Tim,
television.
Like a dog.
No idea.
I enjoy just sharing time with you and sitting next to you. And that's what Tim says. He says, I just enjoyed sitting there with you.
I know, but I wish you wouldn't lick your bum while we're watching.
Anyway, so they have a little hug on that, and Sally's like, oh, this is so nice and cozy. Tell you what, we don't even ever have to have sex again because it's just nice as it is. And Tim's like, what?
That was really funny when she said.
Friday, lots of sexy talk. So
no.
Well,
sounds like I never want to have sex again. I feel like I want to be a eunuch.
Well, yeah, at the beginning she is, and Tim seems like, oh, I'm not really happy with this.
Doesn't sound like a good ambition for me.
So, but then it's not long before they're making the beast with two backs again, because he walks in to find her doing a classic Corrie exercise DVD, and it seems like this is an increasingly frequent scene in Coronation Street, isn't it? Somebody's making a fool of themselves doing an exercise DVD in front of the TV. We had Gary doing it. We had, who else have we had?
Don't know.
Maria's been doing her headstand yogas recently.
Oh, that's true.
it really is a thing.
Do you think?
And it's just to make the actors look like pillocks. Stop at Coronation Street.
I think that it's a commitment Coronation Street has made towards helping the health of their employees.
You reckon?
Because they had to get rid of all the naughty snacks in the green room, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
And maybe they're like, they've got to make everybody do exercise once.
Silly exercise scene at least. Yeah, once it's feeling like it. Anyway, she's kind of embarrassed about this, but he's like, I'm going to join in with you because it's like disco size, isn't it? Which one of the ex-Corrie DVDs? No, Tracy Shaw was the salsa. I think it was Angela Griffin had a disco one, possibly. I don't know.
Please read our blog on
Coronation Street blogs.
Coronation
DVD
Street
reviews.
Coronation Street.blogspot.
Okay.
What is it? Updates.
Updates.blogspot.com.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
We did reviews.
We did a
of
series
all
of
the
reviews
DVDs
of Corrie
fitness
exercise
DVDs.
It was kind of funny. So anyway, they do this exercise.
Can I just say,
DVD
this didn't happen to
together.
us at any point.
No, after they'd finished, they collapsed onto the sofa, and after copious amounts of sexy innuendo, they end up heading upstairs for a bonk. They come back down later, and it was wonderful, Sally said. Oh, it was like a marathon. So after this marathon shagging session,
all day about it.
she won't.
Rubbish.
She's a teenager
Smug.
that's just done it for the first time and wants everybody to know.
Yeah.
And Tim says, it's nice, wasn't it? I just, maybe just having time with you is what turned me on. I love you. And Sally says, I love you too. And then they have a nice hug. So that was kind of sweet.
She should have put on that Lonely Island song.
Just had sex song, yeah. So she was basically, this is what she was like, wasn't she?
She's just bragging about it. To Ed and Aggie, and if I was them, I'd be like, look, I'm familiar.
Too much information, thank you,
But I would also
Sally
say,
Metcalf.
I'm familiar with what you're talking about, because I've done it myself, but I don't go around talking about it. Why,
I suppose if
are
it
you
was the
assuming
first...
that you've invented this or something? You know we've all got children, right? Shut up.
Yeah, it's like, I know it's been a long time since... You did it properly, Sal, but we don't all need to know about it. So yeah, she goes.
Well,
they go to the bistro. She was,
and this is what Sally and Tim used to be like. They were always bloody going on about.
I don't know whether they were going on about it. Well, they always just used to do it.
They used to talk to each other about it quite a lot, didn't they?
Because Sally's like, I was talking to Tim earlier in bed.
Yeah, I know. It's like it did feel a bit like I don't know. I'm starting to not believe you because of how much you're insisting.
She does protest too much. Yeah. Anyway, so we find Aggie and Ed in the bistro because everybody goes there every night, so why not? And because their marathon bonkathon took them for a bit longer than they intended, it turns out that they've missed their table because they're so fully booked at the bistro, according to Debbie. By the way, pause, Debbie only had a few lines tonight, but she was bloody brilliant in all of them. What was the bit where she's like, sorry for breathing at one point?
I don't know, but it was
she's just
great.
so sarky. I love her. I think she's fab. Anyway, Ed's like, you can come and join us on our table if you like. And Tim and Aggie are like, oh no, they might know that we're friends. So Tim ends up sending a text message to... he thinks he's sending it to Sally, but it actually goes... No, he thinks he's sending it to Aggie, but it actually goes to Sally. And Sally sees the message and is like, well, who was this supposed to be to? And Aggie's like, Tim's like, oh yeah, sorry, that was meant to be for Aggie. And the message says, finally did the deed with Sally, couldn't have got through the last 3 months without you, kiss. And Sally's like, raging about this. Why are you sending texts about our sex life to her?
Well, why are you talking about your sex life to her?
I know. This is where Sally was like utter hypocrite, wasn't it? She's been bragging about, being the queen of shagging all evening, and now you're having a go at Tim for mentioning it to a friend. I know he was maybe a little bit less subtle about her, but anyway, yeah.
It was really funny because she had no leg to stand on here because she seemed to be annoyed that he was bringing up that they had sex, but she'd gone on about it for so much.
Yeah, but that's in character for Sally to not realise that she's being
hypocritical.
Yeah. Anyway,
she also gets mad because he doesn't put kisses on the end of his text.
Yeah. So Sally's like, "What's going on? You having an affair?" And Ed's like, "Yeah, what's going on here? What's up?" And Tim's like, "No, we're just friends. Honestly, nothing physical." we've just been mates. We've just, I don't know how it's happened, but we've
just
ended
been
up being mates over the last few
mates.
months. Yeah, secret friends.
Don't you have any secret friends of the opposite sex that you hide from your wife?
Sally strops off, and she has a kind of funny little expression on her face. It almost looked a bit triumphant, but also a little bit
Yeah,
mad.
but sometimes it is fun to get in an argument and then storm off.
Yeah. Anyway, so Aggie is left alone with Ed in the bistro because Tim kind of scurries after her. And she again swears, nothing physical happened between me and Tim. I'd never cheat on you, Ed. We just became mates. And Ed says, oh, I don't know, this is weird. And she says, yeah, it is a bit, really. Also, while I'm in confession mode, this necklace came from him too. And Ed says, oh, sorry, I wasn't enough for you. And she says, no,
Shut
Ed,
up.
Shut up. Yeah, nothing like that. We're just friends. That's it, honestly. And good on Ed. He actually calms down and
he
says...
listens to her.
He does. He says, oh, all right then. I trust you. I love you. We've been married for donkey's years. And there was a nice little bit where Debbie comes over to take the order, doesn't he? Or doesn't she? And he's like, oh, I reckon you're going to have the salmon steak. She says, oh, you know me so well.
I thought this
was
was great.
That was nice.
And this is a great
demonstration
of why Ed and Aggie are the longest running, even though most of their marriage has been off screen.
Yeah.
Married couple on the street.
I'm touch wood and everything, but I'm at a stage where I don't think that Aggie and Tim are going to have an affair now.
This is very weird.
Even though Ed's been a bit funny with Aggie over the DD stuff maybe recently, I don't want them to split up.
No.
They clearly are made for each other.
I also thought Ed really need to hold his hand up here a little bit too, that he didn't notice that this necklace that she says she's had for years is new.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to blame him too much for that because you don't know half of what I've got or where it came from.
And I can't remember what they say, but they say something along the lines of, oh, I hope Sally's being just as reasonable as you are back at home. Cut to Sally at number 4.
Grabbing his phone off him.
Yeah, she's trying to get an
and
explanation
locking it with
out of
his
Tim.
stupid face.
Yeah, that was funny. She's like, what's your PIN code? Oh, never mind. Then holds it up to his face and it goes ding, and it's like, phones don't go ding when you unlock them.
Yeah, they do on a soap.
But anyway, she's
going through the messages.
Sorry, that's out of order.
Do you think?
Well, yes, a little bit.
I think I'd do this. I think I would.
I think you might do it as well. But if I dare,
if
I was mad at you and I went through your text messages,
hate
you'd have guts for garters, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's
can I just point out? I don't think I'm right. I'm just saying this is.
You probably would.
Yeah, honest, at least I'm honest.
There's a string of text messages there, back and forth between Tim and Aggie.
He's encouraging
lots
her.
of X's for kisses.
He's encouraging her and saying, "Go on, look, go on. There's nothing. I've got nothing to hide."
And she eventually finds one. Well, there's nothing sexy there. She eventually finds one about this anniversary present, the necklace being Aggie's choice, and she is absolutely livid. And I thought this was a brilliant performance by Sally Diviner, actually, where she launches herself at Tim and just is this tirade of anger. And I thought that she was really, really, really good. And she says that you may not have cheated on me physically, but emotionally, and I've written physically again on my notes, and I can't remember what the other adverb she used was. Mentally, probably. You did, and that's just as bad. And I was kind of left thinking, yeah, actually, maybe you did.
It's the lying.
Yeah. It's sneaking about it.
It's
And Sally's done a fair share of sneaking over the years.
But I don't think that he's done as much lying as Aggie has. I think Aggie's the one who's lied.
Has she? I think
she lied about her necklace. She lied about the necklace because she knew it was weird.
Yeah, but I'm sure Tim said the odd thing here and there about where he's been when.
Yeah, but I didn't say that. I said that I think that she's lied more. I think. Well, she was also mad that he was spending time with her and saying that they had the wine lunch club or whatever.
Yeah.
And saying that they were obviously trying to hide their relationship because they were going to the park and not the pub. I don't agree with her reacting in this way, but I can see why she probably did.
Yeah, I can see why she did. I think it's very much in her character. I thought it was a great scene, so I didn't particularly mind. Hopefully she will calm down. I'm sure she will, because I don't honestly think that the Coronation Street writers are going to break up Sally and Tim. I think that would be foolhardy.
It's more to do with the fact that she felt disconnected from him for so long, and then realised that he's been having this very meaningful relationship with another woman.
Yeah.
And also talking about their sex lives, which she got told not to do. Wasn't that the case? She was talking about it. And
I think
Tim was
she talked to Gail about it, didn't she?
And so she
many moons ago
didn't then from then on, but now he's been talking about it behind her back. Yeah,
but even he's been a bit hesitant about talking about it, hasn't
he?
Well,
I know, and also
talking about it in code.
The fact that he texted her after they'd shagged was a bit weird.
Yeah, that is a little bit. But
I also think there's definitely plausible deniability here, because Aggie was initially only interested in it from a medical perspective of like, is there something physically wrong with you that I can help because I'm a nurse?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She kind of put it upon herself to help him in a sort of professional capacity.
Do you think that either Tim or Aggie are coming away from this, tarnished, or
no?
Do we look down on them? No, not really. They just became friends. It was quite nice. They shared some lovely scenes together. Yeah, I guess so.
And
especially after all this time where she's felt that things haven't been right between her and Tim.
And maybe she's starting to wonder why. Is it Aggie's fault?
Yeah, it's perfectly natural for her to react in this way. Is she the root of all of this? But I'm sure they'll be fine.
I just think that I think it's totally normal. I think this is what Sally's like, and I think that it's really interesting. I think it's going to prompt some people to discuss, it's prompting, people to discuss, can you be friends with somebody?
Yeah. And it was nice that they could.
Well, the thing is, at the moment, we're not sure what Sally's going to do.
Yeah, no, yeah.
She's just going to sulk and make him sleep on the sofa for a week, and then probably Sally and Aggie will have a haranguing match in the street, and then they'll get over it. But
yeah, and then
Tim and I'd be quite hurt if I knew that you had a friend that you were confiding in, and you didn't tell me about it, because I know you've got friends that you talk to about things that you can't talk to me about, like stuff to do with work, because I don't understand it. And that's fine, I don't mind that at all. But if I found out you'd been going somewhere to talk to somebody about something that was bothering you,
I suppose telling me, I suppose as a viewer,
I'd be really upset.
As a viewer, I can say, it's only Aggie, it's fine. But you're right, if I was to put myself in Sally's shoes here, I probably would be a little bit miffed.
Like, what the hell are you doing?
I wouldn't shout at you like Sally shouted at Tim, because I wouldn't be brave enough.
Yeah, you're too scared, because I'd shout back.
Yeah, twice as hard.
Yeah.
Right, Gemma, speaking of friends, or more than friends, Ken and Wendy.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Oh God! On Wendy, on Monday.
Monday.
What are you gonna say?
Nothing.
Wendy has got Ken tickets, an insufferable talk about fairy tale and sexism.
Which you are an expert on.
I did some of my dissertation on this, and I did quite a lot of my degree on this and got books about this. It kind of annoyed me that this was being treated like it was some revelation. It's like, this is a long time.
Ken is wise.
People have been talking about this. This is not news. Anyway, Mary comes in and she's like, I want to do my scenes. So they go back to number one.
She's the leading lady, isn't she?
So go back to number one, and Mary's annoyed because...
Tracy's annoyed.
Sorry, Tracy's annoyed because she's supposed to be at work, and Tracy and Mary, and neither of them are at the shop. And Mary says, actually, I put in a request to do this, so you need to go and open the shop. And then Tracy gets annoyed at her and gets her revenge by telling Mary that she loves Hamilton and that she should ad-lib some rapping to go into the play. And Ken's like, how dare you?
I thought this was very silly.
Ken gets a text from Wendy saying, looking forward to talking about how there's problematic tropes in the idea of princesses being rescued from castles by princes. And he's like, I never thought about it that way. So Mary's boring Ken senses. I thought this was a brave idea, and I think that who plays Mary?
Patty Clare.
Patty Clare did a really good job and she always throws herself in completely confidently to whatever stupid thing that they get Mary to do. It fell a bit flat for me. And it really did feel like she was ad-libbing. I don't know if she was, but she was like making stuff up as she went along, and it was very convincing. It felt very real,
but I just thought
but it wasn't that
so
funny.
Silly.
So Ken's getting really bored at this point, and he gets another text from Wendy, and he says, "I've got to go. Daniel wants a babysitter," but Mary sees the text and knows that he is lying. So then Brian, Mary and Tracy are in the pub later, and Mary's annoyed that Ken is clearly into Wendy. Even though...
Oh yeah, they call her WC, don't they? I think Tracy makes that... I like that. I mean, there's already been a joke made on Curry many moons ago about Tracy's initials being a deadly disease, isn't there? I think... Was it Eileen that said even her initials are a killer disease? TB?
What is it? Oh, I was trying to imagine. I was trying to remember what
Not
her middle
TM
name,
as she is now. That means something
was.
else.
Tracy.
Lynette.
Yeah, Lynette. I know because I looked at it was in the quiz book.
Oh, nice.
Tracy can tell that Brian knows something, and she storms off to try and make him tell her. Daniel and Daisy turn up at the bistro and sit next to Ken, and Daisy's thrilled when
she's thrilled
Ken
when she sees Ken and Wendy. Yeah.
That they're together, and Daniel's like, "Oh, okay, I'll support you." Oh, hang on a minute. No, at this point, Wendy and Ken are at the reading.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was the case. They're at the reading and they're listening to the lady.
Yeah.
The author, who is
I don't know.
the real life.
Oh yeah, the partner of Jane Hazelgrove.
Yeah. She was great. I thought she really felt like again, like a real person who'd come in to do a talk about aging in Snow White and how it's not really the Wicked Witch's fault that she had an apple.
I don't understand any of this stuff. I'm just a man.
That just because she got an apple that's full of juicy poison doesn't mean it's your fault if someone eats it. In fact, it's sexist to say that it's her remit to have to provide food for people.
Yeah.
Why didn't she get her own food?
So wise, Gemma.
Lazy.
You should do a talk at the bistro. Or maybe the community centre, or maybe speed dial, but nowhere else because nowhere else exists.
No, I won't do anything anywhere else.
Is it common for bistros up and down the country to just close their doors to customers?
I thought this was
so
odd.
that events can take place.
I thought this was a very weird thing. I felt like, is Chariot Square Hotel full up or something?
Yeah.
It was weird that they closed the bistro, and it didn't really feel to me. I was thinking to myself, who booked this? Who are the suspects? We've got Leanne, we've got Debbie, and we've got Nick.
Yeah.
Right? Which of those three went, I know we'll have feminist fairy tale, a reading of the hidden truths behind Sleeping Beauty.
You're right, I don't think either of those three really look like they'd be the sort to want to welcome that.
Leanne would just be far too practical to entertain such nonsense. Nick would squint at you.
I think Debbie's more likely. I think Debbie might book it just so she could sit at the back and laugh at how preposterous it is.
It's not preposterous. It's all... It's just, it's not new.
Well, it's just a bit arty-farty, isn't it? A bit too...
It is a bit too highbrow for Weatherfield, it feels like.
Yeah.
She sold out most of the seats, though, didn't she, this author?
Sorry, author, don't you know that nobody in Weatherfield ever goes to university? It's a thing.
So, so this is where Daisy and Daniel come to listen, because obviously Daisy and Daniel love sexist fairy tales as well. And Daisy's like, hooray, I'm so glad that you guys are shagging. And
they're not shagging yet.
The author finishes reading, and then there's question time, and then Ken's like, I've got a question.
I've got a pretentious question. I'm Ken Barlow. You might have heard of me.
This isn't a question so much as an observation that I had about The Lion King. I'm not sure if you're familiar. But then Tracy walks in, and this is because she's been told what they were up to, and she calls Ken a geriatric gigolo and a dirty dog, and makes a big show of herself, and then gets made to leave. And I couldn't believe there was no line anywhere here where the author made any kind of comparison to anything that they'd been talking about, or talked about harmful tropes, or you know what I mean? She just sat there and went, oh dear. Tracy left, and then Ken and Wendy go to the bistro, and Ken's like, do you know what? I think Tracy's still a bit mad about this. And Wendy says, well, I'd understand it if you want to walk away from me. And he's like, I can't let go of love. You and I are like the Camilla and Charles of Coronation Street, and Deirdre was Diana.
Diana.
It's true. She died tragically young. Anyway, I think I quite like it. Because I also think, I've also been watching it thinking, Wendy does look a bit like Camilla, doesn't she?
She is a little bit.
The Queen Consort, Camilla. So, Tracy tracks Ken and Wendy down to the pub and has to go at Ken again. So who's Tracy then? Is Tracy William or Harry? I think she's Harry.
Tracy's the paparazzi.
And Ken says, I do miss Deirdre, but you know what, I need someone to keep my bed warm. And Camilla and Charles watching this going, that's us, look, yeah!
Ken's like, there's a cost of living crisis, and if I get Wendy, then I don't have to pay the electric for my electric blanket, so...
Also, she's going to keep her house, but live in my house, and that way we get the 66 quid added onto her account for the benefits thing.
And we got an email from Scottish Power the other day.
Did you showed it to me?
Did I? Oh, okay.
Everybody gets £66. Or how is it £66?
Something like that, yeah. Anyway, that was Monday.
Wednesday, Ken finds Jacob, remember him? Cleaning with his headphones on and accuses him of tampering with the radio. That was weird.
Jacob scene. It literally was just a case of he's still in it, everybody.
And
here
also,
he is for a scene.
Why is a young boy? Can I just say, I don't want to disparage youth, and I already have done by calling Aaron boring and too tall. But would Jacob know? And maybe I'm being a bit rude here. Would he know what a hi-fi was?
Yeah.
But would you look at that as a like 20-year-old kid? Would you look at it and go, "This is for me. I'm going to plug my headphones into that."
Well, I don't know. Vinyls are all that come back in fashion. Now the youth haven't they? So maybe hi-fi's
has he not got a phone?
Yeah, well.
What's he listening to Ken's hi-fi for?
Maybe the Wi-Fi's down and there's no 3G signal.
The cat's getting distressed because I keep shouting. He scarpers.
And that's the last we see of him.
That was weird. And then Tracy says, look, hello, Dad, sorry about yesterday. I will cook for you and Wendy tonight to show my apologies. Then she makes them stuffed marrow. And Ken's like, I can't believe this. What an insult.
That was really clever.
I love this. And then Wendy's like, I don't even care. I actually quite like marrow. And she gives a big old dollop of it on the plate. And then she eats it all and says, no, I understand what you're feeling, Tracy. I was a right old cow to your mum, but I'm going to carry on seeing Ken, if you like it or not, and now I'm going to the pub because this was bloody awful. So Tracy finds her in the pub and says, look, okay, you must really like my dad if you were going to eat that much marrow for him. It was horrible. Should we have something else to eat because it was gross? That was
a really nice little...
I really thought that was sweet.
Mini story on Wednesday. A nice way to tie things up.
What a great way to show Tracy's acceptance of Ken.
I didn't think the pacing
Wendy.
of Tracy finding out about it worked at all because she's been weirdly absent for a few weeks now whilst the Ken and Wendy storyline has still been going on. And I did think on Monday for her to return to the story, find out about Ken and Wendy, have a go at them in the bistro. I thought that all happened a bit fast, and when she came into the bistro having a go at them, I was like, you're just kind of making an idiot out of yourself, Tracy. Really, it wasn't even the script. It just wasn't top tier Tracy material. But Wednesday, whoever's idea it was to get her to cook the stuffed marrow, Deirdre's signature dish, that was great. And just Wendy's reaction, like, that's given me an awful... Not that I hated Wendy before, as much as, you know, as a true Corrie fan, I should. It should be baked into me to hate Wendy Crozier. But I was like, that's proper made me respect her now, that she, like, looks Tracy in the eyes almost and wolfs down this disgusting watery mush that's been served in front of her. Yeah, good for her. She's fighting for Ken, and I'm not, and I think that even Tracy, who was dead against her, would be impressed by that, and her saying, "Well, you must love my dad that much if you'd have so much marrow for him." Yeah, I think that was just the right tone.
I also like the way that Wendy didn't know what the marrow meant, and Ken explained it to her, which was also a way of explaining it to people that were watching that probably who didn't remember or know about Deirdre's stuffed marrow. Yeah,
it was great. It was that was a callback done right, wasn't it?
Yeah, great.
So yeah, nice stuff. So Kendi and Wen, now an item.
Kendi and Wen.
Ken and Wendy, sorry.
I thought you were
Ken
making
and
a
Wendy,
joke.
now an item.
How long is she going to stay in the show?
I don't know.
I'm quite happy for them to stay together. I thought it was... I like these Twilight year romances because I felt the same way about Arthur and Evelyn. I love the idea of finding love after sort of denying yourself or being lonely.
I don't remember enough about the Ken and Wendy story originally. Obviously I didn't watch it first time, but I've probably watched it on Classic a long time ago. I don't remember like how evil Wendy was, or whether she was just remember. You know, the innocent other woman that was what was the
really
story?
It was just like Charles, Ken, Camilla and Diana.
Is it that she was leaking secrets, or that she thought Ken was leaking secrets? Or
I don't remember.
I don't remember. But when she said I was a real cow to your mum, I was thinking, were you? I don't know. But anyway, it's all gone. She's changed, and she just is a nice woman now, isn't she?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, they're all adults, and they've all decided to let bygones be bygones, and if they really care for each other, I don't see how anybody can get too mad about it.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think she's going to stay forever, and I think she's either going to break Ken's heart or he's going to break hers, and I'm kind of a bit sad already in advance.
Maybe she'll just die.
Maybe. So, the Harvey storyline then. So this was just in tonight's episode, obviously a bit of a setup for next week. And Sam wants to go to school on the bus when Nick offers to take him in, because Sam likes his independence. Nick goes through the post and he has a bit of a squint when he sees some particular envelopes there.
Oh, and, no.
It's a letter from the prison. In fact, a whole bunch of letters. Harvey Flaming Gaskell, villain extraordinaire from Coronation Street, not 12 months ago, well no, it was exactly 12 months ago, wants him, Nick, and Leanne, and is it Sam as well, to go into the prison to see him. And Nick goes to the Ritz Bistro and shows Leanne this, and she's like, no way do I want to see him again. He's a murderer. Is he a murderer? I don't know, probably.
He shot...
Definitely a drug dealer. Oh yeah, he shot Natasha, didn't he?
Yeah.
And so they agree, right, let's just tear up the letters. We're not going to go. Let's forget about it.
This would make me so anxious.
Well, you and Leanne both, because that's basically Leanne for the rest of the episode. Paranoid.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have camera effects for it.
Well, you're not quite as paranoid as Leanne.
I'm not as important as Leanne.
So yeah, she just starts freaking out as the episode goes on and says, well, what's he after? What if he's got goons on the outside, or maybe even heavies who are going to come and rough me up?
I'd
and
have
Nick's
to go
like,
and find out.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Stop worrying, woman.
Nick's like, yeah,
it's
okay,
fine.
Sorry, Nick. Yeah, you probably don't mind. You probably don't worry. But you're like 6'5" or however tall you are. I'm little Leanne.
Yeah.
I'm a tiny woman. I'm a tiny girl. I can't be having people coming after me. Last time they came, they molested me and they made fun of me in my own house and made me make them cereal or something.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen to me again.
No, I know. So Sam goes around the bistro later and Nick says, I've arranged some time off school with you because blah, blah, blah.
And Sam's like, I wasn't learning anything there anyway.
And then we have the scene with Leanne going outside the bistro later, and she has these utterly unnecessary edit. It's like she sees people that look ever so slightly like they could maybe be Harvey if you kind of turn your head and squint a little bit.
She was just seeing someone with a hoodie on was bringing it all back.
Must be Harvey. I don't know, but it was the camera just goes wibbly wobbly.
And it's like first of all it's a man with a hood up, who reminded me of the evil Kermit meme. And then it was a man with a van who's obviously delivering probably Argos things to people. And she's like, oh,
the evil Argos man. Anyway, so this is when Debbie comes out. What are you doing, you pinnock, basically?
Yeah, and she's like, I'm having a flashback because of poignant drug dealing.
I'm just about to have a major story. Sorry, Debbie, you wouldn't understand. Anyway, she goes back to the flat later and she's looking out the window, looking a bit anxious, isn't she?
Do you know what would probably help?
Well, what would help is if a red van drove past and then she said, thank goodness that Ollie is looking down on me to protect me. What if a bunch of feathers fell out of the sky?
Yeah. No, what if her lovely sister, Toya, who is a counsellor, came and went, let's talk through your feelings.
Toya's not in it at the moment.
I understand that this is bringing
too busy
back
slacking off
some bad memories for you, but let's just work through it step by step and unpack all of this negativity so that we can move on with our lives, and you can also make me dinner because I'm really hungry and I want some vegetable lasagna.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that, are you fed up with are you done with that?
Oh yes, I am done with that.
Double trouble? Shall I do that?
Yes.
On Friday.
Yeah, keep going.
Bernie,
I'm just reading text messages.
On Friday, Bernie tells Gemma that she's joining a high-end cleaning company, and Gemma thinks this is funny because she can never be a professional cleaner and she's only ever cleaned for people that she already knows. And then Fern rings Bernie up and says, I need you to do... What? No, don't do anything. No, I want you to come...
Fern rings up Bernie because she's got other secret jobs for her to do, twin jobs. And Bernie's
tomorrow.
Like, no, you're just misreading my bad notes. Bernie says to Fern, no, don't need to do any secret twinning with you tomorrow because I've got a job at a professional cleaning company.
Bernie
I don't
says
need
that.
you to bankroll
Bernie's like, I don't
me
need your help. But then Fern comes round and says, look, don't go to that interview. I thought that rang a bell. My old cleaner used to work for that company and she never got paid. They're a bunch of cowboys. And Bernie's like, oh, God's sake. I'm very glad you told me, so I won't bother with that then. And then Fern says, why don't I help you look up some other places? I'll get you a takeaway. Here's some money. And then she gets her to go and get it. And then, alone in the house, she swipes a bank statement and a t-shirt and runs off. And then Gemma catches Bernie on the way back from the shop and goes back home with her, and she's convinced that Fern is not real. I don't know why she really thinks that Bernie's making up a friend that doesn't exist.
I know.
Is she just teasing her?
No, I think she really... They have said that before, haven't they? That was it. I don't think anybody else has seen Fern, have they? I don't know. I don't remember.
But it would be a bit bizarre to claim that... Like, if I thought my mum hallucinated a whole new person, I'd take her to the hospital.
Anyway, what's Fern up to? It seems like she's going to try and pretend to be Bernie, isn't she now? She's got a bank statement. She's going to try and... Yeah, exactly. She's going to try and steal her identity
and a t-shirt.
For something.
Because the person behind the counter would be like, wow, I don't know, you've got a bank statement and you look a bit like her, but you don't dress like her, so...
I want to see Fern put on Bernie's accent, because we've seen it the other way around at the driving course last week.
When Fern came in today to see Bernie, I was like, they do really look really similar. It's really funny how similar they look.
I know, but in my head I'm also thinking, but they don't look identical. But then I'm thinking, oh, of course they don't. They're not even related. And the idea isn't they're supposed to be identical. They're just supposed to be similar. And I think they're similar enough for this storyline to make sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was that for this week's Coronation Street. Just before we move on, it's about this text message that's come through. I don't want to maybe talk about it too much for the time being, but we've had just a text message in from somebody in the know that maybe the scene that we saw with Max and David and Shona has actually been cut, and it was actually supposed to be in today's episode. So maybe we have seen a secret unaired scene that nobody will ever know about. But I don't want to talk about it yet, but we'll definitely talk about it on the podcast if it hasn't been on next week. Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
That's our agreement.
If we're allowed to.
That's quite exciting. And it also makes me wonder, how often does that happen? That they film scenes that
we
just
know
never
that they
get used.
Yeah, but we also know sometimes they film lots of stuff and it gets cut. Because we've had people before go, oh, this scene was longer, and
So we've talked to people who've told us that scenes have been trimmed, but for a whole scene to be cut, and we've seen it.
All right, Michael,
but maybe it's not. It might be on next week. I don't know.
Conspiracy theories.
I do believe my source that has texted me. Right, Gemma.
Yes.
This week's Coronation Street. Still enjoyed chatting about it with you.
Of course.
Just didn't enjoy watching it so much.
With you.
What I just liked, like Tim and Sally, I just like being there watching with you, Gemma.
Oh, that's not sweet of you.
I'm going to give this week's Coronation Street 2 programmes where they go around each other's B&Bs and moan about the dusting out of 5.
I love this. I love the way that this is a TV show that does actually exist. If you're not in the UK, you might be surprised that this sounds completely random, but it's not. It's called 4 in a Bed, and they do just that. And I love the way that Gail was like, oh, you love it when they moan at each other or something. I was yeah, we all do, don't we? We're all horrible people in this country.
Talking about TV shows where they go on about cleaning, that reminded me of that How Clean Is Your House?
Yeah.
Do you remember
Kim and Aggie?
Kim and Aggie. Well, Tim and Aggie.
That would be great actually.
The storyline title could just be Tim and Aggie, but I don't think it's
not. People don't get it.
No.
People get it. I can totally picture that. Aggie would come around being like, well, it's not my job to clean your house. And then Tim would be like, what's the problem with it?
Yeah, it looks fine with me. Just step over all the stains on the floor and the crumpled newspapers.
The next 25 minutes would just be them staring awkwardly at each other and the person in the house going,
You gonna do anything?
Do I have to do it?
What are you giving it? I'm giving it. I know Wednesdays was a lot better, but on the whole, I've just left this week's going there.
I'm going to give this 2.5 saucissons en croûte.
Posh sausage rolls.
Yeah,
that was the thing that Sally was talking about. That was funny, wasn't it? Okay. Character of La Semaine. Ooh, it's a hard one. I'm kind of... That's what Tim said. I'm kind of going towards maybe Yasmin, but
it was very refreshing to see her back.
She was just refreshing.
Form.
I don't think that on the whole that she added mega amount to the week. I'm kind of going maybe for Aggie. Just because she is kind of nice and she was a bit naughty sneaking around and everything, but she just comes across as a very chill, sort of lovely, warm, caring, kind, friendly person.
Yeah. And
that's what she was to Tim this week.
And I really like the refreshingly sensible way that Ed and Aggie resolved this issue very quickly.
Yeah.
And I really do sympathise with Aggie lying about this necklace. Even though it was this really, really dumb thing to do, because she kind of panicked and she didn't really know what to say, and she also thought it was weird I think she thought it was weird that Tim bought her a necklace.
Yeah.
And I think she's just wearing it because she likes it.
Yeah.
I don't think she's wearing it because
every day
Tim got it for me. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think it's any of that. Who was your character of the week?
It's really difficult. Yeah.
You got Stu, you got Yasmin, you got Bridget, you got Lucy, you got Eliza, you got Maria, you got Matt, you got David, you got Shona, you got Aaron, you got Summer, you got Billy, you got Paul, you got Tim, Aggie, you got Ed, you got
maybe Wendy. Wendy for eating crow / marrow.
Crozier eats crow. She was good this week, Wendy.
There were lots of sensible people this week and lots of silly people.
Yeah.
Not going to be Bridget.
And a few boring ones as well.
She's a murderer.
Okay. So, we go
even if
for Wendy?
I'm just going to say again, even if Bridget didn't actually kill Charlie like she thought she did, she still thought she still could very well have done from what she said.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
You don't go clonking people on the head with
don't just hit people on the head.
Sculptures from school. And if it was a school sculpture... I know she was a bit older than that. I'm just thinking about the clay sculptures that primary school children make, and they're a bit too much clay on them. They'd be able to properly knock you senseless.
I'm not sure how old she is, and whether she's a similar age to us. But I'm going to assume that she is. That was probably GCSE coursework that she just ruined there. That's a murder weapon. It's somewhere in her house. You know when your parents save all your stuff from school. Somewhere in the house, is there like a murder weapon in the house?
Yeah, I wonder.
With just painted up.
Yeah, and maybe super glued on a few bits that came off during the attack.
Do you think like next the following week her art teacher was like, well, Bridget, you got a C for this because it's broken in half.
If I was Lucy,
and there's clumps of hair and brain in it.
If I was Lucy, I'd keep it in the house just as a reminder for Bridget.
As a warning.
Yeah. No, just a reminder saying, you killed Charlie. We're putting this on your mantelpiece so you never go to the police about it.
Yeah, if you do, I'll whack you with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done?
I want to see this ashtray.
That's it. It's not an ashtray.
I know,
they said what it was. I should have written it down.
I don't care what it was. It was an ashtray now.
That is it for this week's Street Talk.